All right, everybody, it's 6 p.m. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Hollis School Board to order. It is Wednesday, June 5th, 2024. We are at the Hollis Primary School. I'm going to call now, are there any agenda adjustments?
Yes, I would like to insert a brief video from Paula Isbicki right after the Expendable Trust. For those who aren't aware, Paula's son is receiving a scholarship tonight at his senior award night in Litchfield. She didn't realize that until Monday. That's when she was notified. She was very conflicted, and I said, no, you need to go. Yes. So she did the video, and then right after that, Ann will do a presentation on the Enrollment Committee, and then we'll go into public input.
That sounds great, and congratulations to Paula's son. That's awesome. She made the right choice. But now we have her in video form, so it'll be fun too. All right. Any discussion on agenda adjustments or any others that we need? Excellent. All right, moving on to nominations, resignations, retirements, and correspondence.
Okay, I have a resignation to start with. It was addressed to Candy. I am pleased to share that I have accepted the position of 7th grade math teacher at Hollis Brookline Middle School. As such, I will be resigning from my role as 6th grade teacher at Hollis Upper Elementary School effective June 30th, 2024. For the past 17 years, Hughes has been more than just a workplace to me. It has truly been my second home. I am deeply grateful for the trust and support I've received from my colleagues, the administration, the parents, and most importantly, the students. The camaraderie among the staff at Hughes has been a constant source of strength and motivation for me. I will always cherish the friendships and professional relationships I've built here. As I transition to Hollis Brookline Middle School, I am excited to continue serving the Hollis Brookline community and look forward to building new relationships with both new and familiar faces. Thank you once again for the incredible opportunity to be part of such a wonderful community. I will always look back on my time at Hughes with immense pride and gratitude, and that is from Bob Pooler.
Love that guy. All
Yeah.
right. Me too.
Yeah.
So does my daughter, but she's moving up to middle school, so she's not going to be mad. I will accept a motion.
I move to accept the resignation of Bob Puller from the position of 6th grade math teacher at Hughes, effective date of June
Is it 30th?
30th,
30th,
2024.
A second? Second? Any discussion?
Sounds like a great move for him.
Just to say
Happy
thank
for
you.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. Glad he's staying within the SAU for sure.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor of accepting? 400.
Okay, and now I have a series of nominations. The first one is Olivia Panzini, Panzini. She will be at grade 5. She has her bachelor's in elementary education from Plymouth State University and her master's in special education also from Plymouth State University. She'll be joining us at master's step 2 at a salary of $55,576.
I'll accept a motion to accept the nomination of Olivia Panzini with Master Step 2 at a salary of $55,576 in a grade 5 teacher role.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Excellent. Welcome aboard, Olivia.
Next, I have Alyssa DeRosiers, DESROSIERS. It's grade 3 at HPS. She has her bachelor's in elementary ed from Keene State College, as well as her bachelor's in psychology from Keene State College. She'll be joining us at bachelor's step 1 for a salary of $49,427.
I'll accept a motion to accept the nomination of Alyssa DeRosiers for a grade 3 position with Bachelor Step 1, salary $49,427.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? 400. Welcome, Alyssa.
Next is Cassidy Manti for grade 1 at HPS. She has her bachelor's in elementary education, STEM education from St. A's College, as well as her master's in special education from St. Anselm's College. She'll be joining us at a master's step 2 for a salary of $55,576.
I'll accept a motion to accept a nomination of Cassidy Manti as a grade 1 teacher at HPS, master's step 2, salary $55,576.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor? 400.
And
Welcome aboard,
lastly-
Cassidy.
Excuse me. And lastly, I have Danielle Doney, D-O-N-E-Y. She'll be joining us as the nurse at Hollis Primary School. She has her bachelor's in nursing from Norwich University, and she'll be joining us at bachelor's step 9 for a salary of $61,647.
I'll take a motion to accept the nomination of Danielle Doney,
Doney.
Doney,
Yep.
thank you. I wrote too fast. Doney for the nurse position at Hollis Primary School at a bachelor's step 9, salary $61,647.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor? 400. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you. And then we just have the correspondence that I provided the chair.
Correct. Wanted to share with the board that I have received an intent to bargain notice from the Hollis Education Association. So we need to accept it,
Nope, we
Okay.
just have to announce it to the board.
just letting you know. If anyone would like to read it, I have the copy here. Thank you. Anything else under nomination, resignations, retirements, correspondence?
That's it.
All right, thank you so much. We'll move on to the approval of minutes. I'll take a motion. If anyone's ready.
Do you want to? Oh.
Just dive right in.
I move to accept minutes from our May 1st, 2024 meeting as presented.
Second? All those in favor? Or actually, any discussion? Do we have discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor? 400. Thank you. Correct. And then we have one more set of minutes to approve. I'll take a motion.
I move to accept the non-public minutes from May 1st, 2024, as
Second.
presented.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 400. Okay, we now will need to take a motion that the board goes into recess until the conclusion of the public hearings on the Department of Education Literacy Grant and the Hollis Expendable Trusts and SAU Building Maintenance Expendable Trust.
I move that the board recess until the conclusion of the public hearings on the Department of Education Literacy Grant and the Hollis Expendable Trusts and SAU Building Maintenance Expendable Trust.
A second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? 400. Board goes into recess at 6:07 p.m. We can move into our public hearing.
Go ahead.
All right, so we'll start with our Leaning into Literacy grant. So the New Hampshire Department of Education Division of Learner Support created a competitive grant entitled Leaning into Literacy 2 Initiative. The New Hampshire Department of Ed's Leading into Literacy 2 grant must ensure the implementation of evidence-based literacy resources and a comprehensive reading program at the Tier 1 instructional level. Grants were awarded to New Hampshire public and public charter schools to fund science of reading, evidence-based literacy curriculum, material, professional development for the support of students in K-6. The funding source is American Rescue Plan Act, Emergency Assistance to Non-Public Schools. So this is leftover funds that the state must expend by September 30th, 2024. And so they put this out there for specific purpose for evidence-based literacy program. And we applied for the grant, and we were able to receive a grant for all 4 of our elementary schools in SAU 41. Specifically, Hollis Primary School was granted $51,470.44, and Hollis Upper Elementary School was granted $29,028.88. As this is unanticipated grant money, we typically hold a public hearing, and the board approves the acceptance of those funds.
Excellent. Can you do the public input on this and then we discuss, or we'll discuss later?
We'll discuss during the deliberations, but if anybody has any comments on it, they're welcome to do it or not.
Okay. So if anybody has comments right now, we can make them, but we will have deliberative conversation later. Any for right now?
I'll say for deliberative.
Sounds great. So I'm going to be opening the floor for public comment on the literacy grant. This isn't our public input for the entire meeting. It's just for this part of the public hearing. And I'll open that at 6:10. If there's anybody who would like to speak, you are welcome to take your spot at the podium. Be sure to mention your full name and your address. Going once. Okay. So we opened at 6:10 and we'll close at 6:10 since there's seeing no discussion here in the room. Thank you.
The second part of our Expendable Trust public hearings tonight was on the maintenance Expendable Trust. So during the budget season, Principals Ispicki and Fowler identified several needed repairs, improvements for their respective buildings during the budget process. At the budget hearing for FY25, the Hollis Budget Committee recommended, along with the Hollis School Board, that the funding source for these particular items be the Hollis School Building Expendable Trust. So the items are as follows. At Hughes, we are beginning what I'll call the savings for an elevator retrofit. So we are allocating $36,000 over the next 5 years so that we'll be ready to complete that project when it comes due. We are doing boys' bathroom stall replacement. We are anticipating doing 5 bathrooms. We are doing $35,000 worth of classroom flooring. We are adding 4 cameras external for $20,000. We are doing further security upgrades, which will be additional fobs to make our entrances more secure, and an exit lane off Drury Lane. So anybody who would be taking a right off Drury Lane next year will have a separate lane to head towards Four Corners. So at Hughes, that total was $156,000. At HPS, we are again continuing to do more improvements on the security of the main entrance and have allocated $40,000 to that. We have alarm and access control for $35,000 and heating controls that are wall mounted for $20,000. So HPS subtotal is $95,000. When we put those two together, $251,000 was board approved through the budget season. To give you an update on the status of our fund, we have a current available balance of $229,721 in the building trust. The voters added to approve $125,000 to that fund. We are proposing spending $251,000 from that fund, so we anticipate an ending balance of $103,721. Many years, the SAU building, which is also owned by Hollis, has requests. We do not have requests this year as we're actually saving for a new roof at the SAU, so there are no anticipated expenses there unless something unforeseen came up. So during deliberations later tonight, we'll be asking the board to take a formal motion to expend those funds on the projects that were outlined, and I'd be happy to take any questions from either the public or the board on those two. And then if there's no questions on that, I just will go into the water trust.
I just was wondering about if we have a thought about when we would be updating the SAU roof and a sense about what the cost might be.
I don't have a ballpark number because roof costs just keep changing drastically.
Yeah.
We will do that roof like we do the roofs across the SAU in segments, so that we're not always expending on an entire roof at once. And that also includes the bond. So we're probably 3 or 4 years out from needing the roof, and that's why we're starting to put the money aside.
Any other questions for Andy?
For the anticipated ending balance of $103,000 for the school building expendable trust, is that typically in the range of where we have it since we were starting at 220? Where do we typically, what's the typical range, I guess?
We're in that range because the way the budget committee likes to work is the maintenance trust is kind of used for items that are going to be done each summer. And that $100,000 is kind of a fail-safe. And you also, as a board, have a contingency fund as well as an unreserved fund balance if something let's say, really significant, like a major boiler problem or something like that came up.
I have one quick question about the Drury Lane area. And this may, if you want to add this to discussion, I'm happy to do it then. What other paving or repair will happen on there, and will that make impacts to the sign or the staff lot or anything like that?
The staff lot will most likely grow from this, just by a couple spaces, if everything goes as planned. And then the rest of Drury Lane will be filling in all the wonderful potholes that have come up. Yeah.
The exit.
You know, understand that they do make nice speed bumps and keep it nice and slow, but usually speed bumps go up, not down. So that'll be taken care of this summer, and we have also a company coming out, because one of the things in Drury Lane is, you know, we have a stream that goes underneath it. So we just want that looked at to see what the erosion process is and if there's anything we should be doing on that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, just on the back side of that is the Hollis School District Water System Expendable Trust. For the folks at home, the Hollis School District runs the water system for the town. So it supplies to schools and all of downtown as well as the town hall. That is one of my duties. Is to run the water system. I didn't know that when I applied 10 years ago. I learned a lot about water since then. So we have a water system expendable trust. Our current balance is $33,899. We're looking to expend $2,992. And that's to rebuild the 3 chemical feed pumps. Our water is tested every month, and those results come back. And our custodians do yeoman's work on the system. So after we pay that expense, we are looking at an ending balance of $27,907. Typically, we do not add excessive funds to the water system until we know that something's going on. Like my first or second year here, we did have a significant expense because we had leaks between here and the middle school, because we provide the water for the middle school as well.
Our custodians manage the water.
Our custodian, they manage the, it's kind of unique. I get the email that the testing comes in. We are contracted with a testing company who our custodians work with to make sure that we're available, the pump house is open, everything can be looked at every month. Our tanks are reviewed annually. All of those things are done. There is no charge to anybody who's on the water system because we're not a water company. We just have Rocky Pond. And it's a fabulous well. And it really does a great job and will be utilized for many years. But it's just one of the quirks of being in New Hampshire.
Okay.
And then finally, just a quick update. Kelly put in the Hollis Special Ed Expendable Trust. There are no plans at this time to use any of the FY25 funds. We are trying to build this fund up to $225,000, which is basically the cost of one unanticipated out-of-district placement. That's about an average. So our current balance is $132,867. We'll add in the voter-approved $25,000, and the ending balance will be $157,867, which is anticipated.
Was the balance previously, recently, 225? Is the balance a little?
No, the balance has never reached the 225.
Okay.
Because 225 was I'll say, an artificial cap set by the budget committee, the school board, and the superintendent's office that we wanted to get to. Then what we plan to do is look at how costs have risen for those expenses and see if that should remain the cap or we should continue to fund it.
Gotcha.
And it, again, to use any of these trust funds, we have to have a public hearing and the board has to approve the expense. Excuse me.
Any other questions from the board at this time? Excellent. I'm going to open the floor for public comment on the expendable trust items that Andy just outlined. It's 6:19. Again, if you're going to speak, we ask you to state your name and address very clearly into the mic for the minutes. If anybody would like to speak about expendable trust items, please approach the podium now. And we're closing the public hearing at 6:19. Thank you so much. Do we need to take a motion to reconvene the board meeting?
No, because we automatically go back into.
Okay.
it.
And we are automatically back into our regular board meeting at 6:20. Bouncing back and forth today. This one's fun. All right, and per our adjusted agenda, we are now going to see a video from Paula and then hear a bit of a presentation from Anne.
It's an audio of Paula. She made me swear that she wouldn't have to be on it. Just her
Oh,
voice.
man.
That's what she wanted.
So do you need a microphone over there or?
No, it should be fine.
She did look fine. She looked great.
She did.
Board members and community members and to my administrative team, thank you for letting me join you virtually tonight. I am at my son's awards night tonight, so I appreciate the opportunity to stay balanced within the job and with family. So thank you all very much for understanding. I wanted to touch base on two things tonight, enrollment and technology. First, I want to talk about enrollment. As you all know, we have gained a ton of students and a ton of staff here at Hollis Primary School, and we are literally busting at the seams. I appreciate the proactive work of everybody to have an enrollment committee. That committee is made up of our school board member, a budget committee member, our superintendent, myself, a couple of teachers, some support staff, and parents. When we started meeting, we set short-term and long-term goals, knowing that we needed 3 classrooms to help fill everything going on with enrollment for next year. We did a walkthrough of both HPS and Hughes to see all the space needs, what we're doing, how we're using the space currently, and how creative we are being using our current space. We put everything on the table. We shared all the ideas, everything you could possibly think of, and then we had to vet the pros and cons of all of those ideas. I believe a total were 16. What we came to, the answer was that we need 3 classrooms, so our goal and our decision was to take the Learning Commons. The caveat to this decision is based on the fact that our pre-KK and first grade students have got to be on the first level. Therefore, I can't use classrooms in second grade or third grade in order to help this enrollment increase. They have to be on this level. So with that being said, it had to narrow down where we looked for space. We did choose to take the Learning Commons, and that is going to give us the 3 classrooms that we need. This is short-term decision to help with our increase in enrollment in hopes that we can make a master plan for our long-term enrollment increase. At our last meeting, we invited an architect to the table and talked to him about all our space needs that include storage, classroom needs, classroom space, storage for supplies, office needs, and gave him all the data, including enrollment increases, projections, and so forth. And by doing that, we will be able to create a master plan that will hopefully be able to be put into place as we move forward with the support of our community members. One of the toughest decisions we had to make was taking the Learning Commons, because we know that we worked so hard to create this space where students were invited to come in and out and do all these wonderful things that they do in the Learning Commons. Our Learning Commons is going to be moving to our next biggest space, which is down by the gym area. And although the space is going to be smaller, I want to reassure everyone that the culture is going to remain the same. The goal is for our students to feel welcome in the Learning Commons. It's to have small groups. It's for students to come in and out and be creative. And one of the things that I think you'll know is that we do keep this culture pretty strong. When Mrs. Courier left quite a few years ago, we were really nervous about how technology was going to continue, and Mrs. Finley has done a wonderful job bringing in new ideas and continuing that role. When Mrs. Prue left our Learning Commons, she was one that created it and started the culture, and Mrs. O'Brien has kept that going. And I have no doubt that these professionals are going to continue to keep that culture going. As you'll see in our next slide, We have some pretty cool technology things that are going on with students creating, regardless of where they are in the building. We are going to continue to be creative in managing enrollment increases as the long.
Okay.
Hey, that was great.
They only said I had to press play, everybody.
Pausing there for her technology talk during.
Right.
And she would be mad if we could see the pause. Well, I'm not gonna
That was
show.
great.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, now I'm gonna move this. I have a chair on wheels.
All right, we know each other well enough, but I just feel better.
You're good.
I'll scooch around it.
Oh, honey, you're fine. You're fine. It's like I'm in second row.
Oh, look at that, it worked. Okay. It's just always a surprise. Here we go. Okay, so, my name's Ann Wake DePasquale. I was elected to the Hollis School Board in March 2023. My first year on the school board, I served on the policy committee, and I was an alternate to the Hollis Town Budget Committee. And I attended meetings when the regular member was not able to attend, but also kept abreast of what was happening with the budget in town. And this year I'm serving as secretary of the school board, and I was appointed the chair of the enrollment committee. Mrs. Bickey did a lot of work for me just now, so thank you, Mrs. Bickey. So this little presentation will go a little bit quicker than I wasn't quite sure how much explanation I would be needing to give here, but anticipating that there would be some concerns about, how did this committee even come together? What happened here? Why is it doing this? How did this decision come to be? I wanted to make sure that everybody left tonight feeling informed and feeling comfortable with the process that took place and with the decision that we came to. So just a brief overview of the history. As a new member, I'm going to just speak from my experience with it. In the fall of 2023, there were a lot of mumblings about and talking about here and there about the impact of enrollment increases on our school. If you think about people that you have met in the last 6 months to 2 years, I would say, in town, and you ask them, when did you move here? And if they moved recently, chances are they've got kids in the primary school. And if they don't, then they may probably have babies, right? that are going to be coming through here. I mean, think about it. I think every single person in this room right now can think of at least 2 families that fit that bill. And so recognizing this, we decided in December that we were going to form this committee. We discussed what the composition of that committee might look like, what would be the responsibilities of that committee, and I was appointed chair at that time. On January 3rd at that meeting, Mr. Corey and I presented the mission and the charge of the board, of the committee to the board for its approval. On January 8th, I presented that to the Hollis Budget Committee and told them that this committee had been formed and that I would be informing them going forward as the permanent member was going to be ending her term after 6 excellent years serving on the board. Then on January 9th, I attended the HEPTA meeting, and I put out the request for parent volunteers to serve on the committee. There was also when I talked with the community about the need for new school board members, and hence we got Michelle and Jess here, which was great. Mrs. Bickey then on January 12th put that in her newsletter going out to the school that I was looking for parent volunteers. The principals then announced to their respective staffs that they were looking for volunteers to serve on this committee. And on February 6th, the Hollis Budget Committee appointed Mike Levitt, who I'll refer to later on, to be the representative at the Enrollment Committee for the Hollis Budget Committee. We have first meeting on March 12th, and on April 9th and May 14th, myself and then Raphael gave Enrollment Committee reports to the Hollis BudCom on their regular meetings. So that's kind of the public, in addition to what's been discussed here at the school board, the public information that has been out there and available to those of us who, seek it out. And it's hard to find this information. I'm going to show you tonight how you can find this information easily if you didn't know before. So who are these members? Obviously me, Mr. Corey, Mrs. Vicky, Miss Sayer volunteered to be on this committee, who's been a great addition. She also serves as the secretary to the committee, so she takes all of our minutes and sends them off to me and to our compliance officer. Miss Cody, the pre-K director, Miss Ruth Unger, who is a first grade teacher at Hollis Primary School. Julia Piskorski is our parent representative. She was the parent who responded that she was interested and wrote a formal request to myself and Mr. Corey, and also discussed what her professional experiences are that would contribute to this committee. Amy Kellner is a community member that's serving. She also used to serve on the school board and brings a wealth of knowledge and history to the committee. And she just likes to serve. She just can't help herself. She's just gotta keep going. She loves this school. So Mike Levitt from the budget committee is great because not only does he serve on the budget committee, he also serves on the planning board. So he also is very involved with the schools. If you ever walk into the high school, he's subbing there like almost every single day. He just loves the school. He's very involved. And then Raphael Zach is our alternate member to the enrollment committee, and he is the permanent member on the Hollis BudCom, and we did that by design so that there would be consistent communication. There's 3 of us then that are being well informed of both what is happening at the Hollis Budget Committee and at the enrollment committee, so where there's those checks and balances and that clear communication. So we've had 4 meetings to date, the most recent one being yesterday. So Miss Vicky talked a little bit about what that first meeting was. Before that meeting, I sat down with Mrs. Vicky to kind of just understand her perspective, and we spent 3 hours. It was Gilligan's Island in here. I got a 3-hour tour of the school. Maybe I'm dating myself, I guess. I totally did just now. She took me to every nook and cranny of this school. She helped me thoroughly understand her perspective. I just kept, every moment I just kind of kept, geez, there's more. I told a lot of people one thing that kind of slammed me in the face with this tour was the need for storage, something that I never thought of. I expected classrooms. I did not expect the incredible need for storage at this school, of course, office space, and more. And how hard everybody is working to accommodate these changes, which I'll get to in a moment. So we did this tour. We talked about some of the problems and the impacts, and I'll take you to that hyperlink in a moment if you're interested. The team wanted to then see Hughes and understand Hughes' perspective. So Ms. Fowler on April 16th took us through Hughes, and again, I met with Ms. Fowler beforehand. That was about an hour.
I did 3 hours.
Yeah. Sweet woman. But that was great. And part of the reason why it didn't have to be as long is because one thing that we all came to was that Hughes is a little bit of an easier situation than Hollis Primary School. So first of all, just the physical space is larger. There are more classrooms. It has enjoyed the benefit already of having 2 additions over time. They also have different policy guidelines regarding class sizes. So in K to 1, we cap at 18. In grades 2 and 3, we cap at 20 students. But then once we get into 4 through 6, we have up to 23. So you can see that she gets some wiggle room that we don't necessarily have here at the primary school. And I can talk about class sizes if anybody wants me to. It's something I'm very passionate about myself. I'm also an educator. Right now I'm just mom, but I'm also an educator. May 7th, so also at that meeting, we decided we need to prioritize. We have a whole bunch of problems here. So we decided to prioritize that 3 classroom need. We had a brainstorm session. We created a working document and to explore all those options that Ms. Vicky referenced there. On May 7th, we invited the Hollis Fire Inspector, Jen Gavestes, to talk to us about that New Hampshire Fire Code, which requires that pre-K through 1st grade be on the main level of the school. But what we talked about was, for example, if you think of the wing, like where Miss Neighbor's room is, the 100 wing, that's not on the main level, but there is direct egress. And she informed us that since we have been forward-thinking, over the past few years in doing some renovations, including putting in sprinklers in this older building. She was comfortable with allowing the students to also occupy that area, even if they're in pre-K through first grade, but of course not, again, being able to be housed on the upper levels. But she was comfortable with the short period times that they might be upstairs for like specials, for example, because those sprinkler systems have been installed. So good job, Mr. Corey and team, on that. So that was helpful to us and helped us come to this Learning Commons decision. And then yesterday, Dave Ellie, who is an architectural consultant who's been working with the school on a number of projects, came to talk to us. We shared with him a document that I have there about what our problems were, what our issues are regarding the need of a dedicated gym, a place for specialist storage, office space. And we came to the conclusion that over the summer he is going to work on a draft of a master plan that would be segmented over time, and several things are on the table. In addition, renovation, construction of a whole new building. He's familiar with our septic. He knows where our cistern is. He understands our land. He'll be working more closely over that time period as well with Mr. Corey and Mrs. Vicky, and probably Ms. Bergsog, as she is our rising superintendent, to ensure that a good draft is brought to us in August, and then we work from that to try to come to a conclusion. If the board wants me to bring up that document at some point during deliberations, I'm happy to do so. Okay. So why this? I mean, Mrs. Vicky did a good job about talking about this a little bit, but you know, someone might be thinking, well, how come you didn't figure this out sooner? So we have something called the New England School Development Council, and they put together these wonderful reports for us. And you know, if you've been to any of the town meetings or public hearings, you've probably heard Mr. Corey say that these are usually, you know, pretty spot on. But and you know, they look at births, and they anticipate, you know, moving, and they come up with a number. But if you'll see tonight, you know, when we look at current enrollment, you know, you're gonna see that while they may have like overestimated kindergarten, they grossly underestimated the number of first graders we would have this year, for example. They were pretty spot on here, and then of course not anticipating our intensive needs. And what's the result? Well, they projected we would have 380 students, and we have 401. How do you know that? Like, they might be able to predict, like, based on trends, how many people might be moving into town, but we have no way of knowing if it's just a couple, if they're an older family, if they have children in the middle school, in the high school, or again, if they have babies. Okay? We don't know that. And so Mrs. Vicky constantly has surprises. You know, she thinks that she has a class the school figured out coming into fall, and then maybe she could have 5 kindergartners registered in August. She has to accommodate that. And most often, you think about like, well, when do we get surprise stuff? It's very often happening, according to Mrs. Vicky, in kindergarten and first grade, because you have parents that will homeschool. And post COVID, of course, that's much more common. And so when we think ahead, when we think about making sure that we have enough space and so forth, we have to take into consideration we will have these surprises, and we really want to keep these class sizes manageable. It keeps teachers happy. It helps teachers, want to come here. So it gives us a better hiring pool. It keeps our teachers here who are, happy. There's this saying, if you don't feed the teachers, they'll eat the students. Right? We don't want anybody eating our kids.
That's not happening.
So, this, and any teacher will tell you that that's really important. And some of you might be saying, well, look, you know what, you dealt with it this past year. How come you can't deal with it next year? Right? Well, why not? Our smallest class is graduating out. And right now, we have 5 first grades. Look at those numbers. Those are not within our guidelines. Do you know why? We did not have a good hiring pool last year. And our amazing first grade teachers said, you know what? We will take on more students We would rather make a burden on ourselves than bring someone into our school that doesn't meet our criteria, that isn't up to, what our standard. And so as a result, there are some, bigger classes here. Well, when we increase that, guess what's going to happen? Your kids are going to be in smaller classes. They're going to have numbers more like this. And a quick Google search is going to tell you that smaller class sizes, particularly in the primary grades, it is proven over and over and over again. It is so important for academic success. And that is what we care about, and just for making good people. So,
And Anne, can I just point out really quickly that this enrollment report, as you see it here, is on every single school board agenda.
yes.
So for each meeting, you can see what has changed since the last report. So you notice this column here, change from last report. We were watching that over the last year. Every month it was +1, +2, +3. So you can follow along with that throughout the school years as well at home.
Absolutely, and it is noteworthy that I have changes throughout the year. People can come in anytime during the school year, and we have to welcome them with open arms and say, hey, come to us, and we will create space for you. And it's really nice to have class sizes more like this to absorb those kids than here, particularly with our little ones. So that's where we are there. So while we are losing this wonderful space as it is now, not library in general, as Vicki said, your kids will still have a library special, they will still have technology. They will be gaining the benefit of smaller class sizes, which is definitely a good thing. So the range of options, again, if anybody wants to during deliberations, no, particularly on the board, because we are asking the board tonight to approve some costs. And Mrs. Vicki mentioned that this is a temporary solution. I think what points to evidence of that is that we're asking for partitions and temporary walls and a temporary ramp, because this can change. This space has been different spaces in the past. Mr. Correa has informed us about this. This used to be classrooms. These doors are here for a reason. It has changed with enrollment, and so we are going to make it work, and it could change again based on what happens. So all of that is there, and some of you might be like, okay, well, I'm interested in this. How do I stay informed? It's tough sometimes. So here we go. The Enrollment Committee has its own committee page. I'll be honest with you. I today asked Emmy to make it fewer clicks on the Hollis primary page, so I'm going to have to play with that a little bit. So if you go to the SAU 41 site, let me just back up. You are going to go to the superintendent. And the superintendent, there he is, that handsome guy right there, right in front of you. Got his great little letter there, and it lists all of his committees. And you can click on, oops, I'm sorry, you have to click up here. And that brings you to the Enrollment Committee. I will play around with this later. Emmy wrote me and informed me she has made it fewer clicks. But here we go. And there we are. Our mission, our members, and then all of our agendas and minutes. But if you
Will
don't
this
want to go through,
presentation be posted on there, Anne?
it sure can be.
I like
can
that.
make that happen. HEPTA also is another great way to stay informed. Michelle Lawler is our vice chair of the school board, and she's president of the PTA. Jess Lehens, of course, is treasurer and member of the school board, and I'm giving monthly reports. So if you get on there, you can just ask them, hey, what's going on with enrollment? And they can tell you. So that's a great way to go. There's the town budget committee meetings, and you're like, I have way too much going on. I got practice, I got, all kinds of things. I can't make the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. I really like to have things sent to my inbox. And so if you don't want to go here directly to get all this information, if you're not doing this already, you just go to our Hollis website, you go to this thing, notify me, And this, I do this with the select board and with rec committee, and I do it with the BudCom because these are the things that are important to me. You can ask to get the agendas of any of these committees, and you see BudCom is always going to have a report from the school, including enrollment, and you can get the minutes sent to you as well. It's just a great way to be informed of what's going on in the town. So highly recommend that as a way to stay informed. And then come talk to me. I have a kindergartner, I have a second grader, I'm out and about. You have my email address. I'm happy to talk to you anytime. I'm very interested in what the community thinks and what it feels. And of course, so is Mrs. Bickey, very open as well. So I hope that assuages some of your concerns and answers some of your questions. And I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anne. That was a great presentation, and also thank you for popping it up on that enrollment committee page. I think it's really valuable for folks to see that this isn't just a new thing. It's been discussed for a long time as we've watched those numbers go up. So at this time, we're going to open public input for the entire meeting. So if you have anything you want to talk about that's on our agenda, you're more than welcome to come to the podium. Please state your full name and address for the record clearly, and you're welcome to speak up to 3 minutes. So anybody who would like to share their thoughts, please go ahead and queue at the podium. Thank you.
I do not need 3 minutes.
So, my name is Susan Shea. I live at 19 Crestwood Drive. I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. I know this is all volunteer, and this was super informative because, I'll be honest, this space means so much to all of us. It means so much to all of our kids. Like, my daughter wakes up 2 hours before she has to go to school when she's coming to Learning Commons. Like, there's so many wonderful things that happen here. We see what the staff has done with this space, which we appreciate, and even I mean, I have a lot of friends with me here. When we come in for the book fair, like, we feel joy in this space. So my main concern was that how could that be replicated in a different spot? I understand enrollment, people are coming into town, we need to provide the space. But what I worry about is that the Learning Commons is gone this year. Like, next year, is the music room going to be gone? You know, I know we have to shuffle, like, Mrs. Happy, I know, is down here. She used to be upstairs. So I know there's a plan in place, but I guess what is the timeline on that? And I don't even know if you guys can answer that, because every year we're going to get more and more students. I just worry that, like, everything is going to get taken away from our kids and the future students in this town because of the population. I know you guys are talking to the architect and working on a plan, but we are very crafty parents. We can raise a ton of money. And, like, just the Glow Run raised a ridiculous amount of money. And I know that's allocated for certain things, but being a part of this community and caring so much, like, is there something we can do as parents to help figure out how to expand space? Can we do fundraisers? Is that even allowed, that money we raise could be used to help expand the school? Because everything the school offers adds so much to our children and their education, and we just can't imagine them. And then if this space is gone, does that mean when we have space later, we're going to get it back? Because maybe people will think, well, we haven't had it, it's okay, we can move on to other things. Because it's such a big part of their day here, and I know the staff here loves it too. So I'm overwhelmed with the information. I appreciate you guys showing us how this stuff worked out, but we're feeling helpless. So what can we do? We want to help the teachers. We want them to be happy. We want everybody to be happy. We want a place for all students, but we want it to be kind of fair and equal, and we can raise a lot of money. And I don't know if that's an option. Because, I mean, I feel, just look at this year, look at the fun fair, look at the Glow Run, and I know that that's set for different things, but I wish I would have paid attention to you guys needing committee members, like more parents, because I think people are super creative in this town, and we might be able to all come together and form some good ideas that maybe are things people hadn't thought about, because everybody's perspective is different.
To your fundraising point,
Mm-hmm.
you could do that, but I
Okay.
think it's, to me personally, it's more of a taxpayer issue
Yeah,
than a funding issue. And we appreciate everything the parents do for us all the time.
right.
When I look at this, using my many years in education, this, to me, was when Hollis enrollment had declined significantly. Like, when I arrived 10 years ago, it was, we never envisioned being at this place now. So this is what I call educational creep. If you have a vacant room,
Yeah.
it gets filled
Yeah.
with stuff, storage. It happens at home, here. And it's turned out to be something that, by design, we promoted. We went from a library to a learning commons to emphasize everything the children do. I think Paula said it best when she talked about the critical element is the culture of the learning commons. I think we'll be able to do an awful lot with the space. Now, one of the reasons why we're looking at temporary walls, petition walls, which we have at Captain Samuel Douglas Academy, we have them so we know exactly what
Okay.
they are. It will allow us to open this space up fully if we had to. So let's say we had to have a parent meeting. Yes, we'd have to find a home for desks, but we could have a parent meeting. If enrollment went the other way, the walls just tuck back in and you could have the large space again. But they also offer the flexibility of if a teacher wanted to come into a section, you could close it off and do something. So the solution, though temporary, I don't anticipate what we hope to purchase as going away, because I think they'll add long-term flexibility.
Okay.
The-
Now, are they, sorry to interrupt
Good,
you, but
sure.
are they, like, I'm just thinking of, I don't know what age group kids would be in here, but are they actually, like, soundproof?
Yes.
Because I know the hallways are super busy and
Yeah.
like, so between the classrooms.
Yeah,
I just have never seen them before, so.
no, they're
like,
absolutely.
I'm laughing because you're like, the kids aren't quiet.
I was trying to be nice.
Yeah.
Or those kids that need
I know what
to
it's
quiet
like
to
at your house,
concentrate.
but-
Yeah. And even like the hallway, the kids lining up for lunch and,
Sure.
So they do a great job. I mean, when it's closed, you have a totally appropriate learning environment. And we know that because we're using them at CSDA
okay.
and the high school, thank you. And just so you get the scope, it happens at the natural petitions where the flag is where one wall would be, and then you go down to the next one, you see the green post that butts out again. So there are your 3 rooms, and they were classrooms. It's funny, Mike Lovett, who's on the budget committee, who's on this committee, his children went to school in classrooms here. So he was here before the walls were taken down. The biggest piece from Paula's video is the need to have the children on one floor. So you're looking at, just call it kindergarten, first grade, and preschool are my 3 age groups that I'm gonna have on one floor.
Okay.
Now, we're adding a ramp off of what is the present kindergarten steps for 2 purposes. We need more American Disabilities access to the building, and it's much easier for a little one to go down a ramp than a set of stairs in an emergency. So, and the fire department's been in, they've approved that. You know, it's not something we necessarily want to do, but I will tell you, I'm more focused on that class size and what that will mean to students in the building. And Paula has really done yeoman's work of putting this all together as far as where all the children will be located. And the rooms will be outfitted just like all our other classrooms.
Now, and this might have been, I apologize because I didn't look up any of the old plans, but were portables even an option?
We looked at portables. The problem with portables is, they're much more expensive than the option we're choosing. B, we would have a group of either adults or students going outside, which creates issues during certain times of the year. Plumbing and heating them in the Northeast. We have 2 portables at one of our elementary schools in Brookline, and I would love to get rid of them. And they're something that tend to arrive and never leave.
Well, can we just move them here?
Moving costs thousands,
Yeah.
Like, we can do a
thousands
car
of
wash.
dollars.
I think this solution, once, like, because the library space that we're going to have is going to be probably as big, if not bigger, than what we have up at Hughes.
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize, I haven't seen that library.
So, I mean,
No, you're good. No
yeah.
apologies.
You know,
I just
that's
need
why
to-
we did the tour.
Yeah.
Most of us hadn't seen
Yeah.
it. We were all kind of
Yeah.
surprised at how much smaller their library was.
And I
Well,
think
we
like
have
my kids are younger, so I don't have a big history of this school. This is what I know, this is what they know, and this is what brings us all joy. And like, you know, and we see how happy the teachers are in this space, and like we're not just in this for our kids. We want the staff to be happy too, and like to support that. So
Absolutely. And Paula has met with staff and gone over everything. And to be honest, next year, we will be no longer meeting as a school board. We'll be back to the cafeteria up at Hughes, because this will be a classroom.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, there are a lot of different things
Yeah.
like, that will,
Candy, we're coming back.
you know, and we looked at every option. We actually even looked at, should Hughes be our
Yeah.
primary school and the upper be down here? You know, because Hughes, believe it or not, every one of those levels has direct access outside,
Yeah.
even though it's a huge building.
There's nothing that can be done with like the Farley building or the SAU. Is that too much money to?
Well, the SAU, from a code issue, I couldn't recommend that.
Okay.
It's not great for offices. It's a 100-year-old farmhouse with 16 people in it. It's not appropriate.
Could we tear it down and just build?
Oh, I would love to tear it down.
I'm sorry, can you speak louder into the microphone?
And just so you know,
Say
you
that
may
again
have,
for the people
you may
in
have
the-
noticed there are some properties in town that are up for lease and rental. They were contacted and spoken to, but from a safety, security standpoint, all the children are gonna be under this roof, which makes me very comfortable.
Yeah, I understand, and I appreciate that piece.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for listening.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thanks for
You know, the
coming.
biggest thing you can do, honestly, is come out.
Yep.
Yeah, we will.
No, I know you will, but I mean,
Yeah.
like at budget committee and annual meeting, because that's when people need to know that that's what you want, because, you know, I'm advocating to spend your money. It's nice to know that you're okay with me spending it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely.
Thank you,
Thank you for your time.
thank
Of
you.
course, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Come on up to the podium. Hi, of course.
Caroline Conway, 176 Ridge Road. I have a question as how much and to be clear, I'm the outgoing chair of the Hollis Preschool, so I do have a little bit of interest in this question also. Outgoing. But how much, I know if we move in as a kindergartner or up, we guarantee space. What do we guarantee for those pre-K students? Because I know there's a wait list and we're building more space here for those preschoolers, but we are under enrollment for the 4s at the Hollis Preschool. We could take 25 more students in the Hollis Preschool and the 4s next year. And so my concern is we're not the only school in the area. I know it costs more, but what are we guaranteeing when there are other long-standing institutional places in Hollis that can take that student group?
Sure. So we are not looking to build or create space for typical peers. We're not required to provide education until students are of the mandatory age of attendance. And we offer full-day kindergarten. However, once a student turns 3, if they are identified with an individualized education plan, then we are required to provide them with the services as described on their IEP. And those services have to be provided with a typical peer. So for every identified student, we need a non-identified student. So it's our identified population that's driving the enrollment of our preschool program.
Okay, so it's 1-to-1, and so that's why it needs the additional space.
Correct.
Okay, that answers my question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline.
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors action in
Hi.
public.
Joe Everett, 145 Moore Hill Road. I've heard a couple of times how much storage there is in this building. Can you explain why there couldn't be a creative solution about shuffling some of the office spaces or using some of that storage rather than taking away this space?
The storage issue doesn't affect the Learning Commons at all. It's just one of a host of issues that we're looking to solve when we talk about renovation, additions, construction. But storage isn't the reason for the change of the Learning Commons. It's the immediate need of 3 classrooms next year, so that we can maintain class sizes, or so that we don't have to do one of these much more impactful alternatives that would be much more negative for students and for teachers, or cost significantly more than we're able even to spend right now, working within the budget that has been currently approved. So that's just one. I mean, parking is also an issue that needs to be solved. That has nothing to do with this. You know, this under our purview is a host of issues that we've identified that are all impacted by the fact that more kids are coming to this school, and that requires more staff, more supplies, more parking, more efficient carpool. You know, there's a host of problems. We're going to try and look at all of them comprehensively.
To clarify, we don't have extra storage space that we could use for classrooms. There is no storage space. Yeah. It's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, that wasn't clear.
That's okay. Yeah, I thought there was like a lot of storage.
Yeah.
Oh, no. When I walked this building and we would open a utility closet, it was like, oh my gosh.
Okay.
You know, like claustrophobia, over and over and over again. So,
And
you know,
then
we would love when we're constructing something, we asked the consultant, could you consider this? Is there some way that we can provide some of these spaces while we're also providing, hopefully, a PE, or a gym, who knows?
Right. And then in terms of the portables, there's no opportunity to move administrative off-site in a way that we could open up more classroom space?
Well, the administrative offices, right now, we have the principal and the curriculum coordinator share an office.
Mm-hmm.
The special ed director and the special ed secretary share an office. The two secretaries in the main office share. So they're probably about 400 square feet. So we don't have large spaces to move people out. We are looking at reconfiguring in the future the front entryway to get more safety and security. And that will lead to what you're talking about and probably generate a classroom. And then we have one conference room basically for the building that has to accommodate all the meetings. And so it's I mean.
Also, if you're sitting in a chair and you can't.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the questions.
Yeah.
Jamie Sullivan, 112 Federal Hill.
Pull the mic down for us, please. Thank you.
You can hear me though.
But the folks at home may not be able to.
Hi. Jamie Sullivan, 112 Federal Hill. And I had a question about preschool. I know that they are growing, and I know currently we have one integrated classroom, which means that is both typical and kids on IEPs, and we have one intensive needs classroom. And you had mentioned, or I read in minutes, that there is going to be a third added. Is that true?
Yes.
That is true. So in this current building, we will have 3 separate classrooms for preschool, or there will be 2 and they will be
3 separate classrooms.
3 separate classrooms.
Yeah.
Okay. And this will be classrooms, not Mrs. Happy, so she will be rehomed as well somewhere maybe?
That's Mrs. Bickey and her staff will make that decision how that will turn out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a classroom according to what Paula has, and all our specialists have appropriate spaces to deliver what I'll call reading services and those things. So Paula's plan, other than the library moving into a different space, every teacher has their own home, but we will be filled.
Yeah. Okay. So there'll be 3 separate classrooms for preschool. Okay. Thank you.
You don't have to duck. You've been on camera the whole time.
Hello.
Hi.
Beth Coulombe, 167 Federal Hill Road.
Hi, Beth.
So I learned so much tonight. I used to work for somebody that said, you don't know what you don't know, and I did not know a lot. So thank you very much for all the information. But I do have to say, I know I represent a really large population of parents that don't support this decision and don't want to accept it. Temporary classrooms are a terrible idea. That's a temporary classroom, right? For Mrs. Happy, we did that last year. That's an embarrassment. That's totally unacceptable. Was she happy with that? That's horrible, especially for what our kids gain from her and the environmental science that she teaches. And that's what we're going to do 3 of here. and oh, by the way, Mrs. Happy, pack up again and move. I don't think that's fair. And I totally agree with Susan. We can move mountains. Again, I didn't know about the enrollment committee. I didn't know that decisions like this were on the chopping block, and I think a lot of parents can agree. What can we do? We can move mountains. The brain power, the talent, the generosity, and the caring in our community, our HPS community alone. Forget about the rest of the town. Please let us find an alternative. We can't let this happen. I love the media space at your school. It's very appropriate for the older kids who are a little more tech savvy. In my opinion, it's a little bit busy for somebody like my son, who's a first grader here. This room is the backbone of the school. I mean, this is where you come. It feels good. It smells good. It looks good. My son learned how to play chess here and checkers here. I have bought a lot of books that you read, my son, on that rug right here. I mean, this is a great space. We don't have an auditorium. We've had PTA events here. Please let us help. And I know this is the 11th hour. I understand and appreciate how hard, 16 different alternatives Mrs. Isbicki went through. Please know I'm coming at this with the utmost respect for what's been done. But let us help. Let us do something. Portables, let's raise the money. We can do this. I would never want my son to be in this space for a temporary classroom with a little insulation accordion wall. And all due respect, I understand you're saying they sound block. In a restaurant, they sure don't. So in a classroom with kids, in a main artery here, I volunteered for many lunches, very busy here. What can we do, sir? This can't stick.
Would it be helpful if we talked about what the other options were that were discarded as as not being appropriate?
I can show you the document.
My suggestion would be that we complete public input, and then, the board has total control of the decision, and then we have it as a deliberate item to be discussed again.
Okay. Then again, to the board, I totally appeal to you as a mom, as a volunteer. I've helped with the PTA a little bit. I love the school, I love the kids, and I love the teachers. Please let us do something to help. I'm sorry that we weren't more proactive. We didn't, hear your calls in January. I do read the newsletter. Not sure how I let that one go. But, I know if parents knew that what was at stake here, we all love this room. And to see that that's okay with us, that's not. We've got to do better. And we really want to help do that. So please, board members, give us another chance. I know this is terrible timing because things need to get done, things need to get purchased, but I promise you, me and Susan, we will do what we need to do, and that is just the two of us. There is a lot of us out there that want to help, more than just the names that were on the board. So pardon me for babbling. I feel so strongly about this. I love this space, and I just can't see that happen. So thanks very much for hearing me.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to give their public input before we close? Oh, I think I see somebody. Come on around.
Hi, my name is Patrick Boyle. I live at 46 Laurel Hill Road. First off, I just want to reiterate what was said here. I really appreciate everything that the committee has done. I know how hard these decisions are to make, and I'm not here to speak out against the decision as far as the dividers are concerned. Like I said, decisions have to be made, and sometimes they're not easy. But I do have some sentimentality for the library. I was an elementary school student here many years ago, so this place does hold a special place in my heart. But even back then, we had challenges that were faced as far as enrollment is concerned. Students were in portables. In 6th grade, I was in a portable out back. We did have specials that operated from a cart. They would come into the room, and the culture did survive. So I do agree with that statement. But there is a bit of a cyclicalness to this. It seems to happen again and again over time, particularly as it relates to the population in this town. We saw it when the high school had to be built. Shortly after that was built, it had to be expanded. So it seems like I don't want to say it's a lack of foresight, because that's not perhaps the proper way to phrase it, but is there anything we can do to make sure that there isn't a scramble like this in the future? What can be done so that potentially we go to the budget committee earlier so that funds can be raised? Because I know right now, by the time warrant articles are proposed, and I mean, it's going to be several years. So my daughter, who's in first grade right now, won't even be at this school when a permanent solution is found.
Right. I mean, I would encourage you to get involved because the Brookline community is experiencing the same type of growth. So we are going to have impact in approximately 4 years that will hit the middle school and the high school again. So we are going to go through that cycle. One of the things that is very much in play at Hollis and Brookline is the economy. So if the economy were to go south, that's when we see usually our enrollment goes down because all the people that come in to work at Fidelity, BAE, all of those places are now getting transferred out. So I've seen the peaks and valley since I've been here. The difference this time from, say, 10 years ago was then it was my youngest child was coming to the elementary school. I had one at middle school, maybe one at high school. The difference now is we're seeing so many families choose to come to Hollis to start their family.
Yes.
So couples buying houses with the intent of growing their family here and being here. And that's a drastic shift. And that's why we're seeing this, kindergarten, preschool, and first grade, that explosion. And we're seeing it in both districts. So, as somebody whose child's going to go through the system, you will be facing this dilemma at the middle school and at the high school. We're already in those discussions.
Good. I mean, that's what I'd like to hear.
It's just the balancing act of trying to balance building projects. Like one of the things we're just finishing, really, a major renovation of this building, taking it from 1950s, 1960s electric and plumbing to bringing it up so we didn't have to build a new facility, because that facility would have cost us $70 or $80 million, where the renovations cost us about 30. We did that over time. And then, boom, came this enrollment piece. I don't want the dividers to be a long-term solution, but I think we need to have a solution entering into the fall, because the students are on the way, and we will not be able to propose a new warrant article until March. But the other piece is I really, somehow, some way, and I'll work with anybody in the community that wants to work with it, we need to get a greater understanding for the young families what's coming, because our budget committees and a lot of the leadership in town are closer to my generation than your generation, okay? So they don't see it through the same lens, and they have to hear from you that this is what you want, because that's what they said 30 years ago, because they're really the founders of what we have today.
Right.
But now they need to see that new lens of that you folks want it. And we've heard it as a board and as administration, and I'm not opposed. My email's online. If you write to me, I will answer you.
Okay.
And if we can figure out something, we will, because I get learning comments. I brought the concept with me, and it's flourished more than I ever thought it would. But I need to give children the class size that I think is critical.
No, and I agree with that, but I also agree with what was said
Yes.
earlier. If we can be informed of that so that we can advocate for those future projects, whether it means going to budget committee, whatever, we just need the information.
Right. And the other thing that I think will help us, we'll be switching our communication system in the coming months, and it's going to be a much more interactive messaging system.
Great.
So that, and much more, my phone is my phone. It's totally different than probably how you use your phone. So I'm just being honest.
So, yeah.
I have 3 sons, and it's so different. But I think this new system that's coming into our assistant superintendent and IT is going to really change our communication availability to a format that is much more accessible to the parents who are at this stage.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, I'll look for that. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Patrick. Come on up.
Are we low enough? Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, Amy Brady, 31 Louise Drive.
And as my cucumber sisters say, I'm supposed to be brave. So here I am, a parent of 2 children that have both went through this school and have enjoyed this library. So I just wanted to express some of my concerns as a parent. I also have not kept myself informed, so I just want to admit that. I learned a lot tonight. I haven't followed up, but when I came here tonight specifically to hear about the library, and also let you know that we moved here to avoid things like modular classrooms and temporary classrooms. We specifically came to Hollis for the education system because we value that for our children and wanted that in our community. But to change this space caused a lot of anxiety. My children are not here anymore, but I just wanted to share that there's been 50 years of research on the impacts of libraries to academics. Students that have access to well-resourced libraries perform better academically. Studies have shown positive correlations between libraries and student achievements. It includes standardized testing. They do both better in reading and math, higher education rates, higher graduation rates, and again, higher academic mastery. Libraries bring together community like us tonight, learning. They, with the goal of reading as the backbone of education, they bring the stories to life that our children read, and we read them together. They bring friendship, chess. My son learned chess in this room and then taught me as a 42-year-old adult. I didn't know how to play chess, but he taught me from sitting here with one of the parents that's here tonight and his daughter, their daughter, who they played chess together. And they are the heart of a community and the heart of a school. So I just wanted to say that. I understand you're in a predicament, and this is probably one of the best solutions, but it'll be sad. Yeah. So thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Happy to welcome any other speakers from the public.
Hillary Kazdeba, 92 Federal Hill. I have a question about the long-term plan for the preschool specifically, because I worked in pediatric public health before I became a mom, and we know that there's a tidal wave of need in the developmental realms. We're seeing 1 in 6 children with a developmental delay, 1 in 4 boys with a developmental delay. The rates of autism are up to 1 in 36. I think it's close to 1 in 20 boys now. And my concern is that Hollis will get swept away in this tidal wave if we remain reactive to these students coming in towards us. And we know these trends are not going to magically reverse. And these children continue to need extensive resources, often through their educations. And so when I hear that we're now up to 3 preschool classes, my question becomes, what happens when 1 year we have 20 intensive needs students pop in? Are we going to be forced to essentially cannibalize other spaces in the school, staffing in the school, OT hours in the school, shared speech hours in the school, because we have to service those new children? And this reactive process of kind of always reacting after the fact, we can see the tidal wave coming. And so what is the plan for these students long term so that they get the budget they need, the space they need, the OT hours they need, the speech hours they need, and we're not slowly siphoning it away from the HPS community at large?
Can I say something?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Thank you for your words. I have served on this board since 2019 when I was elected. Mm-hmm. This is not reactive. The enrollment committee was started in December after discussing the need for it for over a year. Mm-hmm. What we had to watch was whether or not it was a bubble or whether it was a trend. Mm-hmm. Because everybody says, oh, it's a bubble, we have a bubble comes through, we don't have to do anything drastic to address it. This has been conversed about in almost every single board meeting I've been a part of for almost 6 years. Mm-hmm. So I want to just point that out. So right now, it might feel reactive because it's something that we have to take action on right now. Mm-hmm. But we've been planning for this. We've been planning about the pre-K. We've been discussing all of these things. Paula and Candy, our principals, have been looking at these solutions for well over a year, even further out. To just give a little bit of perspective, My children are both at Hughes now. We came here when my oldest was coming into kindergarten. There were 4 sections of kindergarten then. That quickly rose to 5. And then those classes got bigger. And now we have 6. And then there's going to be 6 in another section. And now we have extra pre-K. So it's not a bubble. It is something we're planning for, and we've discussed many other solutions. The issue at hand for the board today is what do we do to remedy for next year? Because that school year is going to start very soon. Sorry, teachers, I know you haven't even started your summers. But it's gonna start really soon, and we have to have a solution then while the work continues. You'll hear, and if you look through the rest of the agenda, the enrollment committee is going to come forth and ask to be extended this evening, because this isn't going away. This is a temporary solution that's being proposed while we put into place all of the other things that have been being discussed. I personally love seeing the younger family parents coming to meetings. It's lonely sitting in here with just us looking at a camera. We don't get a lot of public here, so I love hearing from all of you. And I want you to be involved and come to the meetings and hear about what's going on and hear about the needs, because this building can't accommodate this wave that you're talking about. And we're not even just talking about the intensive needs kids. We're talking about families who want to come into our community because it's great. So if there are other ways that we need to move forward for those permanent solutions, we want you involved. We want to hear what you have to say. So we're very grateful that all of you were here sharing your input today.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to think that the board was being reactive
Oh,
to
no,
these.
no, you're
I'm
fine.
just saying, as a field, you know, we've all been swamped by this immense need of new little 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds coming out with extensive developmental needs. And so I was just kind of interested, you know, is there a plan in the future for having our own separate preschool system to handle, you know, the anticipated numbers?
It's part of
Oh, yeah.
the conversation. Go ahead, Andy, I'll pass to you.
In the future.
But no, 2 things I'd like to mention. First, in Hollis is very unique. Your budget committee, any mandated cost is considered outside of guidance. So every year they give me a guidance number that I'm to get to. But if it's a cost for a child who's on an IEP or a mandated service, that is separate, automatically put into the budget. It's one of the few communities I know that does it. It's one of the reasons I came here, because regular ed does not lose out because our special ed costs go up.
Okay.
Now, if you wanted to, all those people that want to raise money, we have this beautiful field right across the bridge. We could put in an adorable preschool to serve all the needs. We could take down that ugly farmhouse of an SAU office, put the SAU staff in that office to help with supervision, and to be with those kids, because personally, I just,
Candy's favorite.
yeah, I adore them. My niece and nephew are severely handicapped individuals, so it's a passion close to my heart. So I want to do the programming, because I've seen where they have come at 23 and 33 in their lives because what education does. So that's what I would recommend. I have one more year if you wanted to make it a going away present. I would
really
love
appreciate it.
I would absolutely love it. No, but I can't say to you enough, this community and its values are going to continue to shine through. We might make a temporary decision that we may not even like, but we still may make it. But in the long run, we're going to end up with a solution that's going to be good for kids. It's a special place, and I feel very blessed to have spent the majority of my career as a superintendent in these towns.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Invite any other members of the public? All right, seeing no others, I'll close public input at 7:23 p.m. Thanks to all of you, genuinely, for being here. All right, and now we will move into principal's end of year report.
How do you want to?
Wait, we're talking now.
Yeah. You guys got it.
You might have to rewind Paula a skosh since I didn't.
think we're
Since I keep going.
5 minutes, 4 seconds, but we'll do that when we turn.
I'm going to actually, I just got to stand. I'm getting too old. Yeah.
These chairs are so big.
Oh, are you gonna watch the video?
It was all up there perfectly.
No, we might have to unplug and replug.
Oh,
There we
nice.
go.
Down.
There it goes.
And then we will go back to Paula.
Come on up, my friend. So Paula is here with us in spirit, and you'll hear her voice a little bit later. I'm Candy Fowler, principal of the Upper Elementary School. With me is the rest of our admin team.
Hi, I'm Abby Diaz, and I'm the curriculum administrator, and I work at both the primary school and the upper elementary school.
Hi, I'm Sarah Prue. I'm the special ed administrator at both Hughes and HPS.
And we're delighted to be here today to show you a little bit of the things that are going on throughout the school year. It just will be a quick blip. By no means is it everything that we do, but we want to give you a good idea of what we're really proud of that we've had in this 2023-2024 school year.
So at HPS this year, one of our biggest goals was around inclusion and thinking about inclusion really broadly and globally and making sure that we were including all students, but also all staff, and really working together to become like a very unified community. We've done that through a lot of different ways, but one of the things that we wanted to do was create a buddy system to help make connections among the students here at HPS and also connect them with Hughes, so that when students go up to Hughes, transitioning from 3rd grade to 4th grade, they'll say, oh yeah, we've been here before. When in the past, we've had kids saying, oh, it's so scary, the school is so big, we've never been here before. And also to make connections like on the bus, we're seeing kids high-five each other when normally they didn't really know each other as well. And then having those connections go out into the community. So it was a work in progress this year. We've had a lot of great experiences with buddies and making those connections, and we hope to address some of the challenges with working between the buildings and different grade levels with scheduling and different things, and hoping to improve it again for next year. This year we also wanted to work on better including and retaining and supporting paraprofessionals. We did a lot of hiring of paraprofessionals this year. Paraprofessionals have such an important role here in our building. They support so many students, and they have such a diverse job description. So we really wanted to have that as a goal, both at HPS and Hughes, to help to support paraprofessionals here in the building. We also wanted to look at our safety committee. We take safety very importantly here, and we wanted to make sure that our safety committee represented lots of different people within the building as a way of getting input on safety and then also communicating out about safety. So we added several different people to the safety committee to help improve that. Another thing that we worked on at HPS as a building goal is looking at wellness. And we had a wellness committee, and they offered lots of different activities this year. Some of the things that they did was working on a school-wide food drive. And we had a train set up here in the hallway, and it extended from the cafeteria on one end all the way down past the learning. I mean, it was amazing. We collected tons of food, and every day when the kids lined up for lunch, they're like, wow, look at all the peanut butter. It was really exciting and a great school-wide event. We did a water safety presentation. We had traffic safety month. So looking at globally, how can we increase health and wellness here in the building? So it has been a really exciting year addressing a lot of our building goals.
At the upper elementary school, of course, we have that reciprocal making connections to work on those smoother transitions for our students. We're especially excited to see our 3rd graders come up and be in the building. They're coming up tomorrow just for another fun thing. But we're only a quarter of a mile away from each other. So coming back and forth, going outside, getting some fresh air, but also coming down to see our little buddies, or the little buddies to coming up to see the big buddies, it's really important. And so part of that feedback loop for us at the upper is, how did it go and how do we figure it out and what are the things that we can change and keep? And overwhelmingly everyone's like, yes, we need to keep doing this. Even though it takes time out of our schedules academically, we're building amazing social skills for our students, and that's just as important. You can see on the slide there's a couple of pictures there. Bob Pooler is holding a giant trophy, and that trophy is for raising money for Best Buddies. And every year the upper elementary school does a talent show. We want to showcase just not what you're doing academically, but how are you giving back? How are you building those community service hours? And maybe you have a talent that you can do something on stage, or maybe you have a talent where you're building a craft, or maybe you are having a talent where you are, helping others. So the Best Buddies program is really about finding best buddies. And that might be something that you see next year. We might start a chapter of the Best Buddies where we're really being conscious about how do you connect students who might have those struggles socially with students who don't have those struggles, and in a way that can connect them either physically or can connect them via email of parents or text or things like that to help all of that. And then sitting on my stage are our school safety officer and other officers from the Hollis Police Department as they were congratulating our students with DARE. So the DARE program is very amazing for our sixth graders, and just another piece of the community that comes in, and really we just take a lot of time to make sure kids have another trusted adult in the system, and making sure that as they go on to 7th and 8th grade, they know that they can reach out to their school safety officer or their school resource officer as another trusted adult. We've been building our programs around enrichment and looking at wing time. As you know, we're the Hollis Hawks, and we take that theme very seriously. So we want to grow our wings, and you need lots of strong wings. And as adults, you need them too, right? You need academic wings. You need to be in control of your own behavior, so you need behavior wings, right? And you need to also grow your social skills wings, which is how do you help others feel welcome around you, not being the most popular, right? So we're working on growing our wings, and this year we have wing time, which we've had for a long time, which just stands for What I Need groups. And we have about a 30-minute period 4 times a week, and some of those students during wing time are getting what they need, and it's maybe a reteach model. Some students were just working in the classroom, and other students might need a little bit of enrichment. So we're really started to focus on that enrichment piece, and it's been going really well. And then lastly, our big building goal was about safety procedures and practices. Every month in both the support staff meeting and the professional staff meeting, we have 10 minutes of our agenda, and it's only an hour and it's only half an hour. It's a big part of that to say, what can we get better at? What did you see this month that might have made you think about it? And we've had some really great suggestions from all different stakeholders in our building, and we implement those. And then you heard Andy speak today about some of the things we identified, just maybe additional fobs to get into the building, so it's always a double fob system. So that's what we're really excited about, is that we can work together as one community to make everything better.
So for curriculum this year, we've been really busy. Starting with math, we've been focusing on math district-wide and in conjunction with Brookline for the last couple of years. And one of our big goals for this year was to make sure that teachers had really excellent professional development around math, because really, regardless of what math program you're using, making sure that teachers are prepared and ready to teach that math is most important. So we participated in the OGAP training, which is an ongoing assessment program, and it helps teachers to really look at assessment and look at where students are, what level of learning they are in math, and talk about how to grow those students. We were able to do some full day PDs at the beginning of the year, and then the best part about this training is it continued throughout the school year. So we had some longer days, and then we also had the opportunity for shorter meetings throughout the year, and it was Hollis and Brookline working together on that learning, and we'll be continuing that work in the upcoming school year. Additionally, we piloted 2 different math programs. We looked at both the Envisions math program that we're currently using in our buildings, and then teachers had the opportunity to pilot Eureka Squared and illustrative math. And we were able to get a lot of information from those pilots and those experiences. And we'll be looking at next year, our K3 students will be moving forward with Eureka Squared. They really liked how it's focused on very hands-on learning and really developing number sense for students at those early grade levels. And then 4 to 6 will be continuing with the Envisions math program with its focus on advanced problem solving and differentiation for our different student learners. In ELA, we are looking at the science of reading in both buildings. One change that we made here at the primary school was to add the Foundations phonics program up to grade 3. Previously, we only used it K to 2. And we saw that really it's important to continue that through 3rd grade to make sure students are really solid in phonics and looking at longer multisyllabic words as they start preparing for more advanced reading once they hit 4th grade. So many of our grade 3 teachers did the Foundations training, and they've been implementing it in all of their classrooms this year. In 4 to 6, we had the opportunity to look at some experience kits with the program of CKLA. And we'll be looking at that further next year. CKLA is focused on building knowledge for students, which is a big component of the science of reading, and helping students to build their background knowledge. And as they build their background knowledge on things like science and social studies, the studies show that it really improves their reading comprehension. The program also has a big strength in vocabulary, which was another thing that we have identified as a place that we really want to grow and improve for our learners. So we're really excited to see how that continues in the future. The other new program started this year at Hughes was a new environmental science program. You can see some pictures of the Solar Eclipse Club that was part of the environmental science that happened. The environmental science has been so exciting at Hughes. Kids have had such a strong foundation here at the primary school with environmental science, and then adding it up at Hughes has been just so exciting. Kids have gotten to use outdoor classroom. They've also been using the science lab at Hughes. They've had a lot of hands-on experience using microscopes and technology, and then heading outdoors to really learn about plants and animals and ecology and water. And we're so lucky to have that here at Hughes, and it's been a great addition.
All right, and then we're up to special education goals. One of our goals was to have in-person meetings versus Zoom. So during COVID and post-COVID, all of our special education meetings had been on Zoom. This year, about 95% of them, I'd say, are in person. I think for the team, that's been great. For the parents, it's been great. It's much easier to communicate at a table, make decisions when you're not on Zoom. And also, I forgot how awful it is to be on Zoom until I've done our training for paraprofessionals, as Abby mentioned, hiring and retaining. Which one of our fantastic paraprofessionals is in the audience that we just hired this year? We've hired some great paraprofessionals. One of the things we've done is having a mentor program. So one of the paras that's here whose experience has been a mentor, which has helped a lot. We've also done some shadow days. So we've had the paras, instead of just coming into the job and jumping in right that day, we've had a couple of days of shadowing, learning different pieces of the job, meeting with the mentor, which has helped. And all the paraprofessionals have created a very strong environment for the team, so that's been great. We also talked about the focus on inclusion, best ways to differentiate for all the students. Specifically, our intensive needs students have been coming into the specials, participating in the concerts this year for the first time, in the biography project, presenting, having their parents in has been a great way. We're moving that program, not moving it, but grades 4 to 6 will also have that program, so having the specialists here communicate with the specialists there will be a great way to support that, and that will be the open communication between both buildings so they can learn from one another.
So moving into summer work. I'm a little bit shorter than everyone else. Okay, I'm a lot shorter than everyone else. I was pretending to be a little bit shorter than everyone, but no, I'm inches. Just kind of looking at what's going to be happening in the buildings. So at the primary school, we're looking at outdoor access points. There's a blind replacement. There's air source heat pumps. I never get that acronym correct.
You did that.
Yeah, woohoo! I nailed that one. Okay. And then kind of looking We have it there at the primary school, the Exit Lane edition on Drury, but I'm kind of really owning that one. I feel like it, our address is Drury, but yesterday, I'm not even kidding you, yesterday or the day before, in many days, like we literally had a backup in traffic all the way up to our flagpole. Like that's hundreds of cars. And once you can't get going one way, you're blocking it for everyone. So I know we might be a little bit worried about parking spaces, but listening that they're really understanding the plan that we don't need less parking spaces. We need more. And then we just need some relief around just trying to get in and out of the buildings when it's beginning of the school day or end of that. So the front entrance project cost, so it's looking at the front entrance project, kind of costing it out, seeing what we could do when Andy spoke about maybe getting a little bit more space, moving some offices around, and then looking at how do we create a better way to come into the primary school. Looking at some wall-mounted heating controls, which we don't have, and then the school guard glass, which is both on the primary and the upper. We're looking at a way to improve. There's a lot of beautiful glass around the buildings, but there is some new improvements in something called School Guard, which even if it was to be shot at, it doesn't break. So we know we have some film on there now, which is not as good as the next thing coming out. So looking at that. At the upper, we are looking at an office renovation. And it's going to be modeled a little bit around what you see at the other schools if you've gone to the middle school or the high school, where you have a little window where you can slide documents under. You don't have to come into the building, moving the secretaries around so they can see the cameras a little better. They can get to the door pieces. So that's going to be exciting. We talked about the school guard. We are having intensive needs move up. A few students are moving up, and we want to make sure that there's a room that meets the needs there. So there's minimal renovation there, but that's a little bit of where our work will be done. And then phase 3 of a 5-phase model is the flooring. So when you're back in the upper elementary school next year in the cafeteria for school board meetings, there's a beautiful new floor in there. That was phase 2. Actually, might have been phase 1. And then phase 3 is the middle building. So we're just looking at how old are floorings, where do we need to have the biggest need, as they crack and they get a little crumbly. We want to make sure we're keeping it safe also and making it look beautiful in the classrooms.
It's okay, you're just...
I'm not staring at you while you're talking.
I'm going to talk about summer programs. So ESY is extended school year for students in special education. We're doing a new format this year. Instead, we're going to have 3 days, 8:30 to 11:30. So Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, July 9th to August 8th. The focus will be literacy, phonics, reading instruction, math and writing skills, in addition to other support services like speech and OT. It will take place here for the younger students, so pre-K to 3 will be at HPS, 4 to 6 will be at Hughes. The Brookline students will also be coming here, and that kind of helps us to share staff and space. Students are going to work in small groups and rotate through a schedule, so they will be in that reading block. They will do some math, they will rotate through writing, so the groups are very small. It's all of the Hollis not all of the Hollis teachers are working, but all the teachers that are working are from Hollis, which is great. Kids that are going to Hughes will get the experience of meeting with teachers that work at Hughes, just like the kids here will meet teachers that they might have in the future. RTI is response to intervention, so this program is for students that need a little boost prior to the start of school. These are all students that have been identified as needing some support already, who are already in the response to intervention programs, whether that's math or reading. Also incoming kindergarten students who have been identified through the screening process will also be invited. This is 3 days a week. It's online, so it's easy access. A lot of times when people are on vacation, they can still use that program regardless of where they are. And the focus for that will be on literacy and math skills.
Yep, so this is Paula and what This is what Paula has already said about enrollment.
I do want to point out that number at the bottom. That was something that she didn't say in her speaking, but it shows the enrollment at HPS in 2014 was 352 students. In 2024, it's 408.
And then next, Paula is going to be speaking about technology.
Wait for the audio.
to hit escape if you need to just bounce out.
You could probably hit the hyperlink maybe?
No, it's not. It's
Oh, it's not working.
for some reason my mouse won't go back to my main computer screen.
Oh, that's...
Where do you need to go?
Yeah,
use the touchscreen. It's not another Chrome.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
Got it.
Sorry.
And we want to be sure that we are taking care of our students as they come in. We have a strong staff here, and I know that even though we are going to feel a little uncomfortable for a couple of years with the support of our community, long-term, we're going to be right where we need to be. I look forward to working with everybody to continue this process. It is a difficult one, but I do feel that we've made really good decisions and we're headed on the right track. Next, I want to talk a little bit about technology. So this past year, we have reflected a lot on how our technology is used and how it is used even in Brookline and at the co-op and how much time we spend. And over the course of the year, we decided that we wanted to be a little reflective on how we use technology and what is the purpose for using our technology. One of the things that I was tasked with was creating a administrative team that would look at technology, how it is used, and how we are moving forward with technology. So what we did was we grabbed current guideline technology examples from schools that have them. We reviewed them. We agreed on creating an outline that would help to direct staff and parents. So if parents come to the table and say, how are you using technology? How long are you using technology? We would be able to have something that everybody would know. We discussed the benefits and challenges in regards to integrating technology. When we really think about technology, oftentimes we think of it as screen time, but really what we are doing here is we are creating. We're using technology to create. And I have an example of that in just a few minutes. So we really want to make sure that parents and community members and our students understand that technology is used as a way of creating and understanding and learning versus where we think of kids maybe using technology as just scrolling through. From that, we proposed some work for our curriculum administrators throughout the district, and they are going to team together, look at all the wonderful resources we have in SAU 41, and really target what are the resources that we should be using, how are they going to be used, what time of day should they be used, and really set guidelines for our teachers. Because as you know, in Hollis and Brookline, we have a wonderful problem of having a lot of resources. But when we have all of those resources, it gets to a point where we start to have a hard time managing when and where we use them and who they may be beneficial to. We came to a consensus on average time per grade level. We know that we do not want kindergartners using technology in a manner that is equal to screen time for a very long time, for long periods of time, and that it needs to be used for specific reasons. Our goal is to finish and agree upon the layout and delivery of how we are going to set this up. We want to make sure that community members are aware of what we are doing. We want to make sure that our teachers are aware of what we are doing. And then we plan to set clear tasks and dates for our curriculum administrators. So as we move this forward, we want to make sure that we have a clear K-6 sort of technology curriculum that sets guidelines for how and when we are going to use technology. So we've definitely gotten a lot of things started. Our goal this year is to make sure that we can have at least some grade level consensus and that our curriculum administrators can start working on that task. Because really we want to know what are teachers using, what is beneficial, are students benefiting from it. One of the things I just want to leave you off with is a little example of what actively creating versus screen time sounds like. So as I sign off here, one of the things that I would like to introduce you to is this year at Hollis Primary School, we learned how to do podcasting. And Miss Finley was amazing at teaching all the kids how to podcast. We had a little school contest on naming it. We had a little school contest on our little emblem that goes with it. And now we have Junior Hawk Talk. What you are about to hear is a very short podcast of kindergartners that are going to teach you a little bit about habitats and some animals. And what I'd like this to be reflective of is truly how we use technology to create. Thank you all again for letting me join you in this way, virtually. If anybody has any questions, I know my fellow administrators that are there can certainly answer those questions for you. Thank you so much for giving me this time, and I hope you all have a great night and enjoy listening to our podcast.
Do you want me to just touch it?
Sure, that works better. For some reason, my mouse doesn't want to go to the next screen. Do you have to be in slideshow to see it? Or
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, no.
There we go. I loosened it for you. Just kidding.
Hello, little explorers. Welcome back to our podcast, where today we will dive into the fascinating world of what animals need to live happy and healthy lives. Are you ready for an adventure? Let's get started. Before our experts tell us about their special animals today, let's go over the 5 big needs that all animals share. Air, water, safety, food, and home. Just like you and I, animals need these things to survive and thrive. We have a special group of students that have been working very hard to research an animal of their choice and determine what their chosen animal needs to survive. All animals need air to survive. What do some animals do to get air and breathe?
Lizards, bearded dragons breathe from their nose. Axolotls breathe from their gills on their head. Leopards breathe through their nose.
In addition to air, what's something else that animals need?
Cats need water. Cheetahs need water.
We know animals need air and water, but let's learn a little bit about what some animals eat.
Brown bears eat berries and little animals. Lion eats gazelles, zebras, and water buffaloes. Axolotls eat worms, pebbles, and fish. Snakes eat insects, frogs, and lizards.
Animals not only need air, food, and water, but they also need safety. Can you tell me what cheetahs do for safety?
They run really fast or climb up trees.
That's so interesting. What do elephants do for safety?
They use their tusks and they stand a hood.
Wow. How about bunnies? What do they do for safety?
They have long ears and they can run really fast.
The final need we're going to talk about today is home. All animals need a home. Can you tell me where some animals live?
Camels live in deserts. My bunny lives in cages and woods.
Mine is a giraffe. Mine live in the grass and trees.
Squirrels live almost everywhere.
The big 5 needs of animals: air, water, safety, food, and a home. Thanks for joining us and our special experts. Until next time, keep exploring and learning about the amazing creatures that share our planet.
That was extraordinary.
just about everywhere. Let's see, is that?
In places you don't have
Yeah, I think it's my angle. Now I can see the little pointer. There we go. All right. Oh, jeez.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Oh
no. My computer's
No, that's
still
very
doing
nice.
it.
All right, just don't click show password, okay?
You can only be logged in for so long.
And it takes us back.
That's
We are looking forward for HPS, Abby. There you go.
All right, so we have lots of things that we're excited about and looking forward to with next year. Obviously, we've discussed some of the challenges with thinking about spaces in new ways. But there's also, once you get past the challenges, there's also excitement and energy with looking at spaces in new ways. So we want to make sure teams are grouped together so that they can work well and that specialists have great spaces that they can work in. It gives some people a chance to clean things out and revigorate things. And so there's always positive with changes as well. We are going to continue working with our zero waste program that we have in the cafeteria, and there's lots of opportunities for students to take ownership over that and have pride in all of the things that they're doing to protect our planet. We've done the art show and the book fair for many years, and it keeps growing and expanding and getting better. This year, the math team added a math night, and we want to maybe do some literacy activities as well in the future, and it becomes such a great community event and so many things to look forward to. We're always looking for opportunities to have students continue to be leaders, and one place they do that is here in the Learning Commons and in our new space, looking for ways for students to continue those leadership opportunities. With the new math program here, we're excited to kind of dive right in and have teachers working together in teams and having great professional development to go along with that, and the excitement that it will bring for our students in classrooms using lots of hands-on tools and hands-on learning, which is very exciting. And then we have several after-school club offerings. We've had a variety of environmental science clubs that have been offered after school. We've had art clubs and music clubs and gym club, PE clubs. This year we added a Spanish club after school, which was exciting, and we're hoping to continue to offer more opportunities for students.
See a little picture of our robots that we've been working on at the upper elementary school. What we're looking forward to are some of the things that happened this year that didn't happen last year. For the first ever, we've had the Hollis Brookline High School seniors come to the upper elementary school from when they were in 6th grade. They came back 6 years later. We had about 40 of 100 that we actually promoted come back to see us, and it was so exciting to see how excited they were to be in the building and walking around and seeing their teachers. And then I'm walking around and teachers are crying and kids are hugging. It was like really, really great, so that our students could see, look what hard work gets you, and just talking about where they were going and what their plans were. I've invited some retired staff members who had these students back in 6th grade to come back and see them, and it was fun for all of us. We have had a tiny business program. So we had a student who really wanted to be a small business owner and an entrepreneur, and her passion was really about getting kids to be creative and maybe sell some things with permission, and our with permission. That's it all. With permission. Do not spend your lunch money on and so she's been working a lot with Abby Donnelly, who is our media specialist, and really helping to build that program where kids have an application, they have to get it approved by me, we can only have a certain price point, and they're working through their lunches while kids can come up and buy some of their things. And every month some of the profits are going to a different organization that the kids decide where they want to send them. So that's been really great. And now we're looking for a new student leader, because it's very important to the student who's leaving, going to the middle school, that this program not die. And she's very, very passionate about it. So we're excited to help others follow in her footsteps. We are looking forward to that CKLA professional learning and really changing the tenor of ELA instruction at the upper elementary school. That tier 1 instruction is so important, and making sure it's vertically and horizontally aligned among our grade levels. Collaborative teams. Just so you know, we have 15 classrooms at the upper, and this coming year, all the teams will be a little bit different. So it's always good to change it around. Some teachers are looping up to another grade level. Other teachers are coming down and teach a different grade level, to have that broad expansion of I know all the different parts of what's happening at the upper makes us really strong. And it's not that we don't all know each other, but sometimes like, oh, I haven't been down to that, level before. So we're really looking forward to that. Looking for school-wide events. We have the Celebration of Learning, which I want to thank parents. We had almost 100% participation yesterday. It was amazing to see all the parents in the building. Field days coming up. We have more volunteers than we've ever had. Just that support means so much to us. 6th grade barbecue, which is hosted by our student council. They raise money through little pieces to get money to help send off the 6th graders in something fun. And then maybe we're looking at, maybe there's going to be an ELA night or a math night, just getting the community members in to see what we do more than just a few times a year. And then expanding after school opportunities. We have to have staff who want to do that, which, as you know, sometimes people are super busy. Staff also have their own children they're raising. But we did expand to Wednesdays in the Woods with Mrs. McElroy this year, and that's been really fun. And then our homework club has been just a staple of what's really makes the upper elementary, I think, a little unique. And then looking at the Solar Eclipse Club, when someone comes to you and say, I'm thinking about having a club that can meet to watch the solar eclipse. I'm like, wait, hold on. Do we have solar glasses? We had about half the school be able to stay that day because it was right at dismissal time that the eclipse was happening. And what was so fantastic is many of the students could have cared less that the sun was getting eaten by the moon. They were so happy to be talking with their friends. We literally had to say, we're turning the music off. Everyone look at the sun, right? With your glasses on. With your glasses on. And then it was supported by the PTA as well. So just all those things, I think, besides the academics that we're working on, really make the Hollis Community Schools amazing. So we appreciate the support from the parents to the PTA to our SAU teams. It takes a village, and we can really feel that going on. All right, so that's the end of our presentation. Ta-da! If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us.
Thank you. I love that. And thanks again to Paula for recording her portion, and congratulations again to her son. We are moving now into our discussion portion, and we're going to start with the revenue and expense update.
Okay, well, I don't have any podcasts or any fun pictures, but here we go from the bean.
All right, moving to the next section.
So in your revenue expense report, you can see that we've had some changes from our last report in December. We've been able to unencumber about $235,000 more expenses, and this is made up from $45,000 in regular education, $200,000 in special education, but we overexpended $40K in special education contracted services because of the lack of staff that we could have in the special education, the hiring staff. We expended about $40K more. I just said that, sorry. And we were over $20K in special ed transportation. We have not touched the $95K contingency fund, but if you look at that line, you will see that we are showing a small deficit in the school board, and that's due to advertising and legal fees being over budget. So with the expense funds and the extra revenue, we show an unreserved fund balance at this time of $781,926. And then when we look at the trust funds that was voted on in March by the taxpayers, we will fund maintenance trust by $125,000, the SAU building trust with $23,970, and the special education trust with $25,000. And then, if the board chooses to fund the retained fund balance at the end of the year with $284,000, which is what they approved in FY24, it would leave us with a projected fund balance of $323,956, which is what in turn goes back to the taxpayer.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Our next discussion point is the suicide prevention plan revision update.
So last month, I presented the suicide prevention plan along with the process, and there was some feedback given about having email addresses in the plan and updating some of the language in there to really specify calling home to parents, making sure that it's clear that when we're talking to the students and gathering information, we are not doing any assessing, and we're sending students and families out with the appropriate resources and protocols. So you'll see those changes in the plan, and I'm happy to take any questions about those as well.
Thank you for making those changes. I really appreciate it. I also like the checklists and the additional forms that are included in this, and even the layout that is much easier to read. So I really appreciate the work that went into that. My only question is, and I brought this up last time, just reading it again, I don't have a suggestion specifically of what to put, but at the third point of the suicide postvention, it just sounds, it sounds as if a suicide had taken place, but it's what happens after ideation,
right?
Or intent and then returning.
I can make a clarification there and write kind of, because again, this is the language that's used by NAMI, but I can put in parentheses that after a student is sent out or sees an outside professional, I can specify that there if that helps, rather than just keeping the word postvention.
It just sounds so, striking. Also, the one thing that I wanted to ask, I know it's clear in your mind, but it wasn't just clear to me looking at it, is it necessary if there's only ideation for there? It seemed looking through this that there would, in all of these situations, that an outside person would have to do an assessment. Mm-hmm. Did I miss something somewhere as far as that's not always necessary?
So it's hard to plan for every single situation and encounter. So this you're going to see as somewhat, I mean, it's not broad. I mean, it's very specific in how we handle the protocols, but we did add in kind of an extra layer where when parents are called in and it's discussed what it was, once in a while, it is not the norm. It's not. We recommend that students get sent out 99.9% of the time. There are situations where if a student says something, and they're kidding, or it was in reaction to something, the parents are part of that conversation, and if everyone determines, they were really joking. Okay. Like, there's no pattern, there's no history, there's a lot of different components that go into that discussion. So that's one layer that we did put there for, again, to have that conversation in a broader way.
Okay, thank you.
We had talked last time too about how sometimes, if you're struggling with your mental health, there's a certain amount of chronic suicidal ideation.
That's the other side of the spectrum, yes.
Yeah, but then I would imagine that those are kids generally who are already connected with services. So you're not sending them out for a new eval, but you're just connecting with their provider to say.
Correct, yeah. There are times where we'll have a plan where if it is chronic or if it's, there's a few different situations where this could happen, but where we have a release sign to connect with the outside provider and therapist, and so we wouldn't have a plan to send them out every time, but we could have them connect with their provider in the building. Parents are still called, all of that still process is followed, but we kind of make sure that they have accessibility from the building. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I'll definitely just clarify that piece for that part.
you.
I appreciate that, thank you.
And we will touch base on this in our deliberation area too as well. Our next up is the discussion with the enrollment committee solutions. Was there anything else that you guys needed to do, or is that completed from when we moved it on the agenda?
I'll let Mr. Corey
I would say
present
we'll complete it, but it will come back up during deliberation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Just wanted to confirm. And then next up is the data governance plan review.
Okay, so this is a page turner of a document. Yeah, the quiz will be afterwards. But this is something that was approved by the board. It's supposed to be reviewed annually. It's just a review, it's not an approval. But it is, there are the strike throughs and the underlines just so you can see the changes that have been made. Most of these changes are grammatical changes or changes in titles as folks have changed their titles. The bulk of the important changes were policy driven by changes in the law, so we've already gone through 3 reads with our policy EHAB. But this is really just the plan that's put into place. Sometimes the items have been moved to a different place to kind of group them in a better way. Also, as the policy redefined some of the terms, that meant that the procedures would have to be changed based on those changes in definitions. So that's what we have here.
Gina, can I ask a couple of quick questions?
Sure.
So one of the changes,
Page.
Oh Lord.
Maybe I know the answer to that.
I didn't write down the page, so let me see if I can find it. But it was about the how often data imports were audited, and previously the language had been that they were audited yearly, and then it's no longer specified
9.
how often.
Thank you.
Good job, Carol.
Got you.
And so I just was wondering.
Audit.
I was wondering if there is a plan about how often we're auditing. Just because it was previously specified, and the changes that were not specifying how often.
Sorry, I'm on page 9.
I'm on
Yeah.
page 9, I'm not
I
seeing
don't
it. Is
see
it page
either,
9
but-
on the
It's
on
page
the
9 on the
left-hand
electronic.
side?
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
It's back one, so it's really page 8. Okay.
Yes.
So sometimes there are additional audits as necessary if signals come up that we need to conduct more audits. However, it's not once a year. It's more regularly based on all the different components we have in place that do security checks and.
Okay, so it's not less often, it's
No,
more
it's
often.
more.
Yeah.
Far more often,
Is
yeah.
it worth it to clarify that? And then I don't think that's a big deal, but is it worth it to clarify that in the plan? I don't feel very strongly about it. I just,
Yeah, we could do that.
And then I also did not write down the page this is on.
But Carol will find it.
I don't know how that happened. It
The
was-
risk analysis of our network systems policies. It says that we have third parties perform a risk analysis of all that stuff, to determine are we doing things in a way that makes sense. And I was wondering how often we do that and who does it and how much it costs.
Good question. So we have, as part of our overall technology budget, we have a contract with a third party that we do consulting with, that they are doing off-site monitoring, that they do on-site monitoring as well. So it's all part of sort of a consult package that we pay for. Did you ask how often it was done?
Yeah.
So there are 2 different types. I'm trying to remember all the details of this. So there's 2 different types of tests that they do, really. There's various penetration tests that occur more regularly, continually, really. But then there's the on-site one, which is as basic as walking around to see if passwords are on a sticky note right on your computer. And a little document that says my passwords. And it turns out that's not secure. So that is done less often, but what our Director of Technology does is send Tech Tip Tuesdays with reminders of what not to do for those who are not as tech savvy as the others.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Stay in my red lane.
Any other comments or questions about data governance?
Just was curious if there's been any attacks or breaches that have happened in recent history.
So nothing of concern to make anybody aware of, but we did put into place multi-factor authentication, and it was Not everyone put it into place right away, and it turns out that some personal information was able to be obtained by an outside party, but all of that was rectified, and had the multi-factor been in place, it wouldn't have been an issue. So certainly it impacts anyone and everyone.
Anything else, team? Excellent. Thanks for that. That closes out our discussion. Now we'll move into deliberation, and our first item to deliberate is to see what action the board will take regarding authorizing the superintendent to hire, to terminate, and to accept resignations until the September 2024 school board meeting. Andy, do you want to talk on the need for this?
Occasionally over the summer, we may experience a resignation. Somebody has to move. And to move forward quickly, this authorization allows me to execute the hire. And what I typically do is they go through the regular interview process with the principals and the committee, and then they meet with the assistant superintendent for a second interview, and then it's recommended to me. At that point, I would onboard the candidate, and I typically would then send an email to the board saying, Andy Corey's come on, here's his credentials, this is the step, and here's his salary. It's just so we stay current, especially in the last few years we've found this to be of need, because waiting for a board meeting when a person has 2 or 3 offers potentially can create a problem.
So I'm happy to take a motion.
I move to authorize the superintendent to hire, accept resignations, and terminate staff until the September board meeting, and require notification to the board of such actions.
Second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? 400. All right, our next item of deliberation is to see what action the board will take regarding authorizing the expenditure of FY24 funds to purchase a ramp and 2 partitions for the library media center space. I don't think we need to do an introduction further for that. I think we've had a lot of that, so I'm happy to accept a motion and then we can discuss it.
I move to approve the expenditure of an amount not to exceed, what amount? I don't remember.
We actually didn't look at the document.
$89,695.
Yeah.
$89,695 from the FY24 fund balance for the purchase of a ramp and 2 partitions for the library media center space.
Second? Discussion.
Do you want to look at the discarded, the options? I feel like it might be helpful for people if we could talk about what the options were that were discarded.
Well, just so you know, what you'd be purchasing is something that I think are very appropriate anyways. Like the ramp is $40,000. That gives you handicapped accessibility off what is the kindergarten wing. Whether you as a board decided to move forward with the proposal that Paula has submitted in the enrollment committee or not, I do think the partition walls in this space would be an outstanding thing to have, because Miss Happy could have a partition wall up now, and that space would be totally different. It's not an ideal space, but it would be enhanced greatly. If the librarian wanted to conduct some sort of training in one section, you could close the partition. These are open and close daily. So even if you decide that you want to go in a different direction than the enrollment committee recommends, I think both of these are good to have, and then if you decide to go in that direction, they're already ordered. My only worry is we only have 10 weeks. And to make sure that whichever option you choose, we're prepared for, it's especially the partition walls, getting that to the factory so they'd be ordered.
I think that's a fair point. Also, it seems like if we are going to talk about the options that got discarded, this is the moment to talk. I don't know that there is another moment that we would clearly
There
talk about
is,
that.
so in a couple more deliberations, we have to see what action the board will take regarding the enrollment committee's recommendations.
I see. Yep, you're right. Okay.
At that time, Carol, are we also going to be talking about, I don't know why I can't find it here, the request to extend the committee? The
That's a good
authorization?
question. Would that be where we would put that to?
So number 5 is actually, I think, talking about extending the committee. And then number 2 is about
The
making
decision.
this decision.
These the recommendations.
Okay.
That includes that. Okay.
Apologies, I thought they
No,
were.
that
Great.
it's
Thank
not
you.
clear until you point it out. I do want to point out though that the partitions, they're not 2/3 high. They're not just the room dividers. They really do seal the space, and then you open them easily. It provides one thing that we've learned in the past 8 years working together with all different projects is these days everything you're looking for is flexibility and movable space, because what you need today is not what you need in 10 years. And so rather than having built-ins in a room that limits you for 10, 20 years later, having the ability to roll the bookshelves around so that you can use them with a small group, or open the classrooms, you can have a larger group. Another use that I thought of is, wouldn't it be great to have this entire space for a school-wide celebration? If you haven't been to the cafeteria on a school-wide celebration, there's not a lot of breathing space, much less sitting space. So this space might be a better option if it remained flexible in nature with having accordion style. So I just wanted to clarify that it does actually seal or open up.
So I have a question that I thought of is, there's a spot where the ceiling then goes higher to accommodate all of the light there. How does that get sealed? Do they put kind of just another partition there to seal that area?
So I believe that's where, when they all fold up, that's where they fold up to, and then above it is closed.
Okay. So it would be sealed above it.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Are these custom made?
They are.
That's the price tag.
That's right. That's why number one it costs more money, but it long term gives you more options and flexibility over time, as opposed to option 2, which is significantly less expensive, but does not really provide you with long term flexibility. They're either in or they're out.
Is that the removable panels you're referring to?
Correct. So yeah, the document in here gives us a choice.
Yes.
Between the folding partitions, which is what we've been talking about, the accordion style, and that
And
one
the
installed
removable
is the
panels.
$49,695. The
Mhm.
removable panels, you actually have to basically uninstall,
Mhm.
and they go as a whole, and that has a much lower cost, but is not flexible. They're either in or they're out.
And for the people in the room, the cost of the others are $14,306 versus the $49,695.
Correct.
But if we're looking long term, I guess as many people have expected, the points that you made, Gina, are very relevant.
And that is
in
for
that decision.
both sets of panels. That's not per panel. So we're not talking about $50,000 per panel.
Right.
And so that is what the total amount that was put in the motion, the $89,695, was reflective of the cost of the folding partitions. That's why we said not to exceed, because we had to put the larger amount in the
Mhm.
motion. But this is also part of it. If we wanted to go with the straight walls, that is part of this conversation here as well.
Do we get up to 89 because we're considering the cost of the ramp as well?
Correct.
Yeah. And I think it's a great idea that it is a temporary ramp, because we don't know yet what we're doing as far as an addition or building, and being able to remove that is definitely, again, thinking ahead and keeping that in mind.
And for those in the room, the anticipated cost installed of that outdoor ramp is $35,000 to $40,000. Thus bringing us that 89 and change.
Our question is totally closed. I have something basic about the partitions. It's okay if I can't talk, I just figured I'd ask.
I might have the same
It's not
question.
gonna be argumentative, I just have a specific.
Let's let the board finish discussing. We'll see from there if you don't mind. Thank you. Go ahead, Ralph.
I'm not sure if during the discussion about ceiling, if this was already mentioned, but at the far wall, I can't really see from here. Would it be ceiling at that wall edge?
Well, that's what she was talking about. The folding wall
Mhm.
has a whole mechanism.
Oh, that's what. Okay,
So
I
that's
thought
what
that
she was
the
saying
lights.
would go.
Okay.
Can
all
you
the way up there.
can you explain that a little more for me so I can wrap my head around it, how that works?
So I cannot say for certain. I didn't
Sure.
speak with them directly,
Yep.
but I do know that when you fold it up, it has a home when it's folded up. And so it ends on one side, and then...
So it would end on this flat side versus the one that has the bump out.
And then above it can be closed off.
So you would close off, like to the extent that the wall goes up,
To the
you would
top of the
close
window.
that off.
Yeah.
I see. So it would become a flat ceiling.
It is angled, so that would make it easier.
Yes, it is angled. There we go, okay.
Yep.
It's exactly the.
And then do you lose if we do that? Do you lose the
You
windows?
don't, no, the room stays the same. So this stays open all over here. It's just at the point of where the old classrooms were, that would be extended.
That would be closed.
Correct.
So you would only close the ceiling up to where the partition is. You wouldn't close off the rest of the
Yeah, yeah.
windows.
Nothing
So
would
that
take-
would become straight, like that in that one spot where the partition is coming out.
Yes, but the rest of this stays
And the rest of it
open.
stays open,
Nothing would be
and then the
touched.
partition would.
Correct.
And you
Okay.
can see the spots where it would
Yeah,
come
it's
across.
pretty clear. Yep.
Where there's no window and
Yeah.
you can see
Okay.
kind of the.
Where the wall jets out, that was
College
the old
bricks.
wall.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we've talked about the specifics of the partitions themselves and the ramp themselves. Does anybody have any other discussion points that they wanted to talk about with the plan? Because as Gina just pointed out, this would be the place where we're talking about voting on the plan that is proposed by the enrollment committee.
I have faith in the enrollment committee and that you guys did honestly like review all of the options and came to the best option. I also feel like it might be meaningful and helpful for everybody here to hear why were some of the other things found to not be suitable.
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, would you like me to project
Onto
the
the
document?
Sure, yeah.
Sure. You don't want me to go through it because there's a lot of text, but you'll see, the extent of the discussion.
You're good. Promise.
Now, this is going to be, I may need you, Logan, you never know. It's not turning on. Oh, good. Oh, a power button. You're kidding. That's amazing. All right.
I sent the administrators home.
That's fine.
Yeah, I forget.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as long as he knows how to turn this on, they can. Just kidding. But thank you. Thanks for these. We got a lot of stuff going on.
Okay. So the range of options. Okay. So among what we considered was we considered moving the third grade to Hughes. We considered converting this library to 3 classrooms, moving the preschool to Hughes, decreasing Hughes classes from 5 to 4. That means increasing class sizes from 23 to 25 to 26 kids to make more room. Putting specialists on carts to free up their classrooms, getting portables for the preschool, portables for case managers and reading, math, because there are some specialists utilizing classrooms on the 3rd floor. There are 4 case managers that are sharing one room that would be otherwise a classroom, and then our reading specialists and math specialists also share a room that would be a classroom. So we thought of that. We threw out switching buildings. You can see the extent of cons in that column.
And do you mind just rewinding a little bit so we can see the preschool, the portables? I wasn't able to read it.
I'm just gonna give you the overview. I'm sorry. I'll give you an overview and then I can kind of like just give you a quick of what they were and then why we were for or against. Building a new building for the preschool and kindergarten, and possibly the SAU on the 2nd floor. Moving the preschool to a different building in Hollis, like renting out a space. And then building a gym. That was thrown up there, but of course we knew, we want to do that, but couldn't be done before fiscal year 25. So that was just tabled. So moving the 3rd grade to Hughes, you could see there was a lot of robust discussion that happened there. Basically, the situation with moving the 3rd grade to Hughes is very similar with moving the pre-K to Hughes. This would dramatically impact Hughes. The 3rd grade in particular, this would put that wonderful environmental science class that you just heard about, where they have this great lab that used to be a middle school, and so it's like, we got all these supplies, we could use them. That would be gone, wasted, because she would have been on a cart. Art, where there's a kiln and kids can do pottery, that would be on a cart, so that opportunity would be greatly diminished. You know, we would have to move like specialists. You know, we kind of broke it down. We'd have moving case managers. You know, the computer room would have to be moved to a cart. We just felt like this was just way too much impact on the curriculum for the kids at Hughes. And then also, so moving third grade up to Hughes, we were concerned about like developmentally, you know, there's not even a proper playground there, you know, and that's something that couldn't be changed, you know, like that before FY25. So there was an issue, and even putting pre-K there are concerns like, could we do it? Yes, but again, you're putting very small children in a room with much larger children. We don't have toilets that are the right size for the little kids. They need to be within close proximity. So many issues end up coming up. Could it work? Yes, but is that, again, we are looking for the best, and again, this one out is less impact on the kids in doing that. So we took those out. As far as like changing class sizes, that means we'd have to be laying off teachers, which nobody's really excited about that prospect. Also, again, class sizes is something that attracts teachers to our schools. And so then, you know, then if we're told, okay, if we tell everybody, well, this is just temporary, well, what happens to those teachers that we lay off? Does that mean we bring them back later? You know, a whole host of issues there that just didn't seem like would be best for students or for teachers.
That would be in if you decreased Hughes class sizes to make room.
No, decrease the number of classes. That would be increasing class sizes in order to make more classroom space.
Okay.
So that we wouldn't impact those specials. And we thought that was just.
I see. Okay.
It was worth considering, but that was ready to go off. When it comes down to portables, specialists on carts. I think we kind of hit that nobody's really happy with putting specialists on carts or anybody's on carts. Portables, and Andy, you can kind of help me out here as well. So the thing is, there isn't like some magical store where like there are portables that are like perfect for us, that are just like available at all times for reasonable costs, that have all the amenities that we need. Andy touched on a little bit. There would have to be plumbing, there'd have to be bathrooms, there'd have to be transportation. Nobody would want their kid in those portables. So then it comes down to, well, what if we put some, you know, offices in portables? And so forth. And look, you know, maybe that may have to happen at some point, but again, we're trying to also be, we have to keep in mind fiscal prudence, and these portables are very expensive. I had the first experience with this as a board member when we were considering portables for the SAU. And gosh, Kelly Seeley, our business administrator, did a lot of work trying to get quotes. And honestly, sometimes just getting quotes is incredibly difficult for these. And so she comes and she gives us a proposal. And basically the conclusion, correct me if I'm remembering this wrong, Carol, was that essentially we were looking to lease out the space, and when we looked at the period of time that we would need it would actually end up costing more than if we bought it outright. But we didn't have the money in the budget to buy it outright at the moment. So we're like, wait a minute, so does this mean we're going to be renting to own? No, we wouldn't. Well, this is a bad investment. We can't authorize this, and so we didn't. And it was just kind of instructive, and even Mr. Corey tried to get some quotes in time for our meeting, and he was not able to. Do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, there is a wealth of opportunities for portables across the country right now, as enrollment in a number of places is up. And getting it to the factory for any job, you know, whether you're trying to get your local plumber to show up at your house or trying to get a portable built off-site. We also looked to see if there were any used portables, people returning. Those were already taken up. I also just have concerns when we spend so much time talking about safety. You know, the only people that would maybe feel comfortable out there would be adults. I don't want a group of students from pre-K to grade 3 out isolated in today's environment when we're doing all the work that we're doing internally to keep them as safe as possible.
You don't have school glass in the portables. You don't have any
You
of those
don't have
safety
those things,
mechanisms.
there's not the fobs, kids would have to come in for specials, so we're in the winter now. I mean, the last time they had portables was probably about 15 years ago, and they had to eliminate Turtle Island, which our kids really utilize that in a number of ways. Because we don't really have space because we have the playground in the back, and this is a septic leach, so we really can't build on that. And now I don't want them that far away on the SAU field.
So then we switch buildings. As I said, you can just see the host of cons there. I don't even think it's worth getting into. There are many reasons why that was just not a good idea. So then we talk, so this idea of building a new building for the pre-K, K, and SAU on second floor, obviously not possible for FY25, right? We'd have, again, site plans, where would this be located, the host of issues that come with building. Not to say it's off the table. It is not off the table. That came up yesterday at the meeting. Can we build something just for pre-K and kindergarten? It is something that will be explored, but it is not feasible to happen before September, before August, when students are here. So that is not, that's still a possibility. Moving a preschool to a different building in Hollis, Andy researched this. Do you want to speak on that for a moment?
Yeah, there are a couple properties in town that are available via lease or rental. They presented some concerns around parking, around buses. Again, they're not set up for security the way we would want them. And there would be a great need to retrofit the buildings that are available. I mean, it might be something that we could consider down the road with the appropriate time in that. But again, I just didn't feel comfortable having my youngest learners that far away from us.
And that would also impact the inclusion that we've heard both the HPS and Hughes principals talk about tonight, where we've had those kids in those classrooms integrated with the rest of the students.
And of course, building gym is still on the table, but again, not possible for fiscal year 25. But that is definitely something that we would like to happen. We would really like to see there being a dedicated space for a gymnasium that is separate from the dance that has to be, choreographed every single day.
Right.
In switching over the PE room to a cafeteria to PE. Talk about the many hats that Mrs. Vicky has on her head. She, that too, moving furniture and cleaning up is also one of the things that she does. So this is what we considered, and when you looked at all of that, this seemed to be the most obvious solution. Also because, as Mr. Corey has recommended, this has been done in the past. I just want to personally say, at that first meeting when we went around and we talked about, in our introductions, I had everybody talk about why are you on this committee? Why did you choose to spend your time to this? And I thought that was really important to have and to document, so we kind of always kept centered on why are we here? Why it is important? I started it off just to kind of set an example, and I've said it here at these board meetings as well. I have worked in schools as an educator that have sacrificed libraries and teacher spaces in the name of enrollment. And I have witnessed, through being at those schools in the period of years afterwards, the detrimental effect that it has on students to lose their library and on teachers to lose their spaces. It's very demoralizing. Teachers are the lifeblood of a school. Both of those spaces are sacred to me. And so the idea of losing this learning commons was not exciting to me or to anybody in the committee. We have parents there who feel just as strongly as you. You have Mrs. Bickey who wants to keep her staff. You have Miss Ruth Unger, a teacher, and Miss Cody who are looking out for their colleagues. Nobody wanted this, but it was when you look at the other options on the table, and then of course the possibility of increasing class sizes. This was the lesser of a host of what could be evils for our kids. And it does provide them with smaller class sizes, which is definitely a positive. And they still do have a library. You know, Hughes is making their library work. You know, I have every faith that Miss O'Brien and Miss Finley are going to make that space, because it is just a space. You know, we still have the people, we still have the books, we still have the love. We just have a different space.
Thank you, and that's very helpful, honestly.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, I'm good.
Any other discussion, board?
Just a clarification, just on the price part for the 90,000. So that would be coming out of the projected fund balance of the 323,000.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had told the taxpayers that we'd give them back 200,000, so we're staying with that as well. And I do believe that as the year filters out, that number will grow a little bit, not a lot, but still a little more.
Okay.
Excellent.
Are we ready for a motion?
We are almost ready. I want to say thank you to the enrollment committee members. This is not an easy task. It will continue to not be an easy task. But I appreciate that you guys are keeping the best interests of our students in mind.
Thanks, Carol.
Sorry,
Okay.
can I just say one more quick thing before you deliberate on it, or am I out?
Technically, public input is closed.
Okay.
I apologize for that. We have to just follow the protocol, unfortunately. Unless there is an protocol.
Well,
We never have people here to talk to us, so we're kind of like not sure what to do.
I mean, the board can do whatever it chooses to do. Alls I would say is that you want to think about this from once you establish doing it, then what the next person,
Appreciate.
that's all.
So public input is closed. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. All right, I will entertain, well, it's been a long day. We've entertained the motion. That was to approve the expenditure of an amount not to exceed $89,695 for the purchase of the ramp and the 2 partitions for the library commons. And this is also, just to clarify, to accept the enrollment committee's plan to move forward of having these be those 3 classroom spaces for the FY25 school year. Okay?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Wait,
We
already
already did the motion. We moved before. You're
sorry.
good. You're good. We've been talking for a while. It's okay. No, so we had already gotten our motion out of the way, and that let us deliberate. So now we are
Got
to
you.
our
Yes, of course.
our vote. So all those in favor of accepting the motion? 400. But the work is not done.
No,
Just put it
it's
that.
not.
All right, our next motion under deliberation is to see what action the board will take regarding the literacy grant award for HPS and Hughes. I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the acceptance and expenditure of state literacy grant funds in the amount of $51,470.44 for the Hollis Primary School and the $29,028.88 for the Hollis Upper Elementary School.
Second,
Second.
discussion.
Gina, I had some questions that some folks had raised to me about this. My own personal question is about, it specifies tier 1, and I don't know what tier 1 exactly is referring
That's
to.
what all students receive in the classroom from
Okay.
the classroom teacher.
Okay. I'm gonna pull up just give me one moment, the literacy. The literacy grant must ensure the implementation of evidence-based literacy resources. Is what we're using now evidence-based literary resources?
What we're using now is a little bit dated as the science of reading information has come out and come to the forefront. The reason we didn't act immediately is we were in the middle of our math review and math study, and we felt we needed another year on that. So between the focus on math and professional development with the area of math, We pushed it out. We had been completing 2 years of study with the literacy team SAU wide. So we've been doing that work in the background. The grant certainly gave us the ability to move forward faster than putting it in the FY26 budget.
So the program, like, are teachers familiar with what the new program is going to be, or how long have they gotten a chance to
Sure.
see it?
So our teachers in 4, 5, and 6 have done an experience kit, which is what it's called, a mini unit, if you will, in the program, which is CKLA. So they engaged in some professional learning around it. They experienced it. So next year technically is a pilot, a full year pilot of the program for 4, 5, and 6. For K to 3, because we're doing a math implementation next year, what we're doing is focusing on math for K to 3, but we have quite a few new hires who we've brought in the last year and next year who this is what they know. CKLA. And so my desire would be to offer it as an option. Some of our teachers also, because of our program has been in place and strong and with all of our veteran teachers, but as they've retired and new teachers have been brought in, they don't have that full history with all the professional development of our prior program. So they have also been asking for materials and a program. So that's the direction we're going with K to 3, with full professional development when we do move to a full pilot for K to 3.
Which would maybe be in like a year or two.
Correct. Yeah, we can't do new everything.
Yeah.
We need to keep our teachers happy and not overwhelmed, and it's just a lot in our 2 biggest content areas.
Yeah. I could ask more questions.
Yeah,
but
no,
I'll
go ahead. I'll wait till you're done.
Do you know, like, how do teachers feel in 4 through 6? How do teachers feel about it? Have you gotten feedback?
Yes. So many of them absolutely love it. Certainly there were some concerns, but the concerns were more driven around, it says that this takes a month, but I'm finding that we can't get through it. And so some of that is becoming familiar with the resources and the material. Some of it is knowledge building. So our students have been exposed to one form of Tier 1 instruction all year long, and then right after we do our SAS testing, we said, okay, we're going to go with this really knowledge-heavy unit. And so one of our grade levels studied forensics and had reading materials all around that. So it's very different from a narrative. And so that was a shift. But I think if that shift starts in the beginning and then follows through, to give you some additional information, one of the pieces that our literacy committee did over the last 2 years is they visited other schools who have either implemented or piloted the various programs that we were looking at. And one school in particular, or 2 schools in Londonderry, what they did was they had all of their teachers pilot one program, half the teachers pilot one program, half the teachers pilot the other program, and then they switched. Those that started with CKLA and switched to the other one said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm sticking with CKLA. It was just, the students were far more engaged. The teachers appreciated the resources that were available. They felt that they were seeing much more progress with their students in terms of vocabulary development and acquisition of the content in there. So that really sold it to our literacy team.
That makes sense. What about, there are pros and cons around this, but I wonder, like, is there any space for, with the CKLA curriculum, like, individualizing it a little bit? Like, do teachers have any flexibility to make shifts depending on, like, what the needs of their classroom are or the interests of their class or things like that?
Sure. So we always want to individualize our approach with our individual students and their needs, but we also have to ensure the delivery of our curriculum content standards. Yep. And so certainly year 1 looks very much like this is what we're doing, while we look at individual students and say, Lauren seems to be struggling in this area. What additional resources can I supply for her? Every student is always looked at individually. Certainly with an RTI focus, every 6 weeks we take a look and what do they need and what can I provide in addition to, or how can we present this information slightly differently that is a way that's more accessible for that student. So yes and no.
Okay. Does the grant require specifically CKLA or just
No.
any? Okay.
An evidence-based program. But like I said, we've been spending 2 years. I have to say that the Assistant Director of Student Services is completing her second PhD in literacy. So I don't pretend to have all the knowledge. Absolutely.
She's so good.
Yeah, she's amazing. And this is her passion, this is her area of expertise, and I'm in awe when I just listen to her talk about all the research, and she just knows, she's our go-to and knows everything, and she's leading that committee work. And I forgot your question, but
was there options?
Were there options?
between-
Absolutely,
Yeah.
there were definitely options.
Okay.
And she is a huge fan of not teaching just from the program, but allowing that flexibility. But what's really important is not everybody is the expert that she is, and so we have to make sure we have we're all going to receive this. This is what our evidence-based instruction is, and then we can add and flow from there.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Gina.
Yep.
Great
I look
questions.
forward to learning more about CKLA. It sounds interesting. I've never heard of it before. So I'm asking this seriously just out of curiosity. Like, is there something built into that beyond? You know, people think of, I'm hearing knowledge base, I'm hearing reading, I'm hearing vocabulary. Fantastic. What about writing?
So writing is a component of it. We also are looking next year to do a K-12 review of writing.
Fantastic.
And
Backwards planning. I love that stuff.
and
that's my nerdy stuff.
And so after we take a look at is the writing that's part of this, is that enough? Do we need more? Do we need to make some shifts? We also, in our middle school, have a new writing program for some of our students who need some extra support in writing. And so how do we grow our program from K all the way up to make sure that our graduates are ready to go?
Sure. So. You've mentioned a literacy committee several times. I'm assuming this is comprised solely of teachers and administration. Like, who is on the literacy committee? What is the literacy committee?
So I sit on the committee. Christine Height, our Assistant Director of Student Services, leads the committee. We have our curriculum administrators from both of our districts. We have our reading specialists from all of our elementaries, along with our middle school, sit on the committee. And then they reach out to the individual classroom. We just can't pull classroom teachers out of the classroom because they're teaching.
Well, yeah, they're busy.
So-
Absolutely. Will we continue to get updates on what's
Absolutely.
happening with this? Okay, great. Good. Thank you.
We're very excited about this.
Oh, I am, because I'm very passionate about writing, so that's great.
Any other discussion? Jump in, Raph.
Just one thing on a separate aspect of it. I was just curious because of the grant coming from something called EANS, where the term being used is non-public schools. I looked it up and I saw the FAQ about it. All the terminology was non-public schools. So I was just curious, just to get some background from my perspective on how grants get filtered down to like New Hampshire DOE. Is it like once it gets to them, then it can be like, if there's a surplus, it can be switched over to public schools, you know?
Yes, so these are COVID funds. And so these are the funds that that were returned by districts because they didn't utilize them in time. And so that's for public and non-public schools. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks, Gina.
Excellent. All right, seeing no more discussion, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor of accepting the literacy grants? 400. Our next item of deliberation is to see what action the board will take regarding the suicide prevention plan. I'm happy to accept a motion on this one so we can discuss.
I move to approve the amendments made to the suicide prevention plan as part of the 2024 biennial review conducted in accordance with policy JLDBB, suicide prevention and response.
Second.
Discussion. So I know there was an ask when we were in discussion about this, of making an update. Is that something that we would need to amend the motion perhaps to
The motion does indicate amendments, so as long as we indicate including tonight's amendment
Yeah.
as well as the May, and the board's okay with that, that's fine. And what I'll do is I'll update that and share that with all of you by tomorrow.
Perfect, thank you.
Does that suffice for our board members?
Yes.
Excellent. Is there any other discussion about the suicide prevention plan notes? Okay. Let's take a vote then. All those in favor of approving the amendments? Raise your hand. 400. Our next item is to see what action the board will take regarding the enrollment committee.
I move that we continue the enrollment committee for the 24-25 school year.
Second. Ralph. Discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe there's space to get more parent involvement, you know, now that some of the things are coming to a head. So I don't know if there's space for additional parents to join on the enrollment committee, or if there are things to think about just to make sure we're getting info out, because you guys are, you know, doing things that are very meaningful.
How does that work, Andy, with committee membership?
Well, we would, if people are interested, they can actually write to us. The other thing is they're public meetings.
Yeah.
So they can absolutely attend. They're posted just like the school board agendas, and we can add public input. Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion.
And Anne, can you just remind the public when those meetings take place?
So we actually just agreed that we are going to start meeting on the third Wednesday of the month, starting in August. And I was waiting for this approval. So now that there would be, once there's this approval, I'm going to send all those dates to Emmy White, and she will post them on our page. So those will all be available in advance.
Excellent. And that's at 3:30, correct?
It's at 3:15, but usually starts at 3:20. And about an hour, unless we decide that it needs to go longer, which we have done.
Excellent. Any other discussion on continuing the enrollment committee through this coming school year? All right, seeing none, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor? 400. As I said before, the work continues. All right, our next one is, it's missing, hold on. Are they out of order?
JKAA.
Well, we have something that's not on the agenda, but it's in our outline, and it's the building maintenance expendable trust
Oh, yeah.
acceptance.
Yep,
Agenda adjustment we're supposed to make.
yep. We can take it
Yeah.
up, as long as the board takes it up.
Are-
It's okay.
Are you guys all set with taking that up?
Yep.
It was an accidental omission from the agenda? Okay. So right now we're going to add in to see what action the board will take regarding the Hollis Building Maintenance Expendable Trust from our public hearing at the beginning of this. I'll take a motion.
Move to authorize the expenditure of an amount not to exceed $251,000 from the Hollis School Buildings Expendable Trust Fund for the purchase of the maintenance items identified during the public hearing.
Second? Ralph. Any discussion? We did have some during the presentation. Anything else to ask or discuss?
No, anything additional.
Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor? 400. And we have a separate vote that is regarding the Hollis School District Water System Expendable Trust, also from that previous public hearing. Can I get a motion on that one, please?
I move to authorize the expenditure of an amount not to exceed $3,000 from the Hollis School District Water System Expendable Trust Fund for the annual rebuild of the 3 chemical feed pumps.
Second? Jess. Any discussion? Your duties continue as the water supervisor.
There you go.
All those in favor? 400. Okay, now we are back to the regularly scheduled deliberation points. To see what action the board will take regarding JKAA, use of restraints and seclusion, possible third read and adopt. I'll take a motion.
I move to accept the third reading
And adopt?
and adopt.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So the policy committee met with our new policy committee chair,
Hey.
and this is being presented without any changes.
Great. Excellent. Any other discussion?
I don't have any updates from the last reading, so we've discussed, I think. in the
Yeah,
past.
we did dive into it pretty thoroughly
Yeah.
in the past couple of readings, so awesome. All right, all those in favor? 4-0. Switching. Our next deliberation point, to see what action the board will take regarding GBCD, background investigation and criminal history records. First read.
I move to accept the first reading of policy GBCD, background investigation and criminal history records as presented.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
Okay, so this policy was actually tabled from a January meeting by a member who is no longer on the board because it is there's a lot to it and there are a lot of changes. So we are bringing it back with the same number of changes, but with a new full sitting board, so you can take a look at it. These are really just changes in the law that we're required to put in place, but also it just made better sense to really kind of incorporate the New Hampshire School Board Association language with their definitions to add clarity to the policy, because there's quite a bit of, if you don't do it, you don't know it. So what's a contractor, what's a covered person, what's a designated volunteer, all these pieces. So it's a little bit complex when you see it with this many strike-throughs and underlines. And so my suggestion is it's a first read, take a look at it. It'll be cleaned up after we can get rid of all those underlines and such. And then, with the second read, you can see. It might be easier to identify questions that you might have or concerns.
I had one question on page 4 in the special provisions for educator, candidates, substitutes, and bus drivers. I wasn't sure within that subsection where the substitutes, if that is considered part of the A bullet point.
Ralph, what's the section again, please?
It's
Yeah,
section 2A and B.
That's a good question. That's a good question. The policy committee will have to take a look at that and see if something was omitted inadvertently. Because we did this in January, December, January.
Actually, we did it like in December.
Yeah, December, for the January meeting.
That's right. That seems so bad.
Yeah.
You can see it says there's a strike through of substitute teachers and other non-applicant educational staff.
Where is that?
Where's that one? On page 5, it's struck through.
Yeah, section B. Or, no, sorry.
Oh.
Seven.
The section that's struck through in?
Yeah. It says substitute teachers. So that means that it was that was part of the last approval, but this was not included in the School Board Association sample. Is basically what that means.
So there are no more exceptions, is what that means?
I think that the policy committee is probably going to have to read through that with Gina and just kind of see that it seems like the School Board Association maybe missed that. Or maybe when I was doing this massive amount of combining, that maybe substitutes was taken out and I missed it, but I don't really know how that could have happened. So
no worries.
That would have to go back.
Do we contract subs? No. Okay.
So that's on page 5. So let me just go back and look at that one and compare with the sample.
My suggestion would just be move forward with the first reading.
Yeah.
And then we'll bring it back and make sure that's clarified.
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely. I agree.
All right, any other discussion, or are we good for first reading? All right, all those in favor of accepting first reading?
Thank you.
4-0. That one is a beast with all the strike-throughs. Our next one is to see what action the board will take regarding policy ACF, food and nutrition services, anti-discrimination, and civil rights complaints, first read. I'll take a motion.
I move to accept the first reading of policy ACF, food and nutrition services, anti-discrimination, and civil rights complaints.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
So there are no underlined, well, other than the hyperlinks, but in this policy, because the entire policy is brand new and required by law. So it is, it came out of the School Board Association spring update for us to work on.
Some of this is stuff that we're already doing.
Correct.
So.
Yes, in fact, there was, where's the poster?
At the very end, we're required to display a justice
The
for all
and Justice
poster.
for All poster, and so we went searching for them to make sure that we were in fact already posting the and Justice for All poster. So we're already doing this, but now it's a required by law policy. So just putting it into place.
Basically, it's just saying, there can't be any discrimination in any way with our food services program. And you have 180 days to file a complaint.
And this is how you file a complaint.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting first read?
Thank you.
400. And our last deliberation item, to see what action the board will take regarding policy JI, student rights and responsibilities, first read.
I move to accept the first reading of policy JI, student rights and responsibilities, as presented.
Second? Ralph? Discussion.
Okay, so what you see underlined is new language that's required by law. And so what we did was we just updated it anyway. We don't really call it a parent-student handbook. We call it a student handbook. So we identified what we actually call it. And then the additional piece is making it available in another language or presented orally upon request. So just updating based on additional requirements.
Do we have it already in other languages? Or would that be kind of an on-demand if somebody needed it? We would get it translated.
It is available upon request. However, tomorrow morning you are going to receive an email about our new communication tool that we're using, and every family can select the language that they like to receive all the messages from us.
Awesome.
So that so we've already identified the languages spoken in our community that we are aware of, and those are in our drop down. And so as a parent, you can choose to, in this two-way communication, receive everything in, let's say, Italian, and then you can write in Italian, and the school district will receive it in English. So we're just trying to improve accessibility and communication.
Yeah, that's great.
Is there like another option?
So if the language isn't there, I mean, there are, I think, 98 options available, but rather than have 98 options in a scroll down, we thought we would pick.
No, I think that's a good call. I agree with you.
But certainly we can add it. We can always add them.
You
but
can't, you're struggling already with another link. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's great that you're doing that.
Any other discussion on this first reading of JI? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting first reading of JI? 400. Andy noted that we do not have need for a non-public this evening. I wanted to just point out something that I probably should have said at the beginning, but I just want to say it now. We traditionally don't meet in July, so there will be no Hollis School Board meeting in July. And we do have a change to the date of the August meeting. It will not be the first Wednesday. It will be Thursday, August 1st. Planning to be here in HPS unless we need to move it. We will give proper notice of a move then, but it will be Thursday, August 1st. So I just want to thank everybody for the flexibility with that. So at this time, I'll take a non-debatable motion.
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Everybody. All those in favor? 400.
Congratulations.